are these guys? They're the Go-Go Marlins. They've been off and running since the All-Star break, led by the oldest and perhaps craftiest manager in baseball. These young and exuberant Marlins are the comeback kids. They're fresh, they're exciting, and they're running their way towards a wild card berth. Meanwhile, the Phillies' journey to September has been turbulent, but feisty Larry Bowa has his team holding on and believing in themselves again. They're digging in with muscle and with grit. The wild card is up for grabs. The Phillies win round one last night. It's the speed of the Marlins versus the power of the Phillies. The days dwindle in the hunt for October. The wild card chase next. The Liberty Bell, or the pseudo-Liberty Bell, on top of the vet. 8 more games here at Vanderbilt Veterans Stadium, unless the Philadelphia Phillies can pull ahead of the Florida Marlins and capture the NL wild card. Middle game of this 3-game set. Game 1 of the Phillies last night. Philadelphia half a game behind Florida. They play again tomorrow afternoon, and they play 3 more in Florida next week. Hello once again, everybody. I'm Chris Berman. So glad you can be with us. Week and a half to go, and this is why, if you do this for a living, or if you follow baseball just because you love it, these are the games that you look forward to all year long. Who would have guessed that the Florida Marlins would be a factor at all? On May 11th, when Jack McKeon was hired and got the phone call, said, why don't you come down and be the skipper of the Florida Marlins? What could a 72-year-old guy tell a bunch of youngsters about baseball? Well, 67-45, the Marlins have the second best record in all of baseball since Trader Jack took over. He has told them a lot, apparently. With me again this Wednesday, we're thrilled to be rejoined with the 8-time batting champ of the National League, Tony Gwynn, who one time was skippered by Jack McKeon. You knew him then, you know him now. What do you think he's done the most for the Marlins here?
I think the biggest thing, not much has changed. His big thing is that if you prepare, then you go out and you play your game. And I think when you look at this Marlins team, the key guys, to me, are the 2 guys at the top of the lineup, Juan Pierre and Luis Castillo. When those guys get on, they make things happen. Last night, they got shut out. They went 0 for 8. It's going to be a key for them to get on base and make these things happen.
Statement game last night for the Phillies, who
Absolutely.
are starting to lose their grasp a little bit on this thing. But 14-0 last night, and the guy that helped make the biggest statement, 6 RBIs, Mike Lieberthal. Another big first inning was a 4-run first. A bases-loaded single by Lieberthal drove in 2. And then, in case you thought the game wasn't in doubt, a 7-run 8th and a grand slam. 6 ribbies that you know about Lieberthal behind the plate. But, Tony, this year, Lieberthal has become protection for Jim Thome, hitting 4 and 5. He's become a bigger force at the plate than he ever was.
Yeah, exactly. And tonight against a left-handed pitcher, Larry Bowa is going to move him into the 4-hole because he's the guy that's been getting the big hits for them. So offensively, he's starting to swing the bat, gives Thome a little bit of protection. But tonight, I think he might be tested defensively because if those Marlins get on, they lead the majors in stolen bases. He's going to have to do a good job of containing those guys on the base.
Well, the lead in the wild card hunt is on the line tonight between the Phillies and the Florida Marlins. They had close to 40,000 here last night. They expect the crowd close to that. Phillies, Marlins, round 2. We'll be back. So here we are at the vet, where, as we say, 3 here this week, 3 here in the middle of next week, and who knows if they'll have to play again in a playoff. First things first, that mercurial top of the lineup that you talked about, Tony, the leader in stolen bases, Juan Pierre, then Castillo, and Pudge Rodriguez. You know, you look at the top of this lineup, 1, 2, 3, hitting 300. I don't know that there's another lineup at the majors that their regular 1, 2, 3 all hit 300 or above.
I don't know either, but when you look at this team offensively, I think it doesn't give enough credit because, you know, the top 4 guys in their lineup, and this is a lineup that doesn't have Mike Lowell in it either. If he was in there, you know, and you have your first 5 guys hitting 300. It's a very productive offensive club, and they do it a little bit differently. They're not going to bang the ball out of the ballpark a lot of times. They're going to manufacture runs, and so, you know, after getting trounced last night 14-0, I'm sure it's going to be important for them to try to put some runs on the board early.
Well, this is Brett Myers, who will try to do the job that Vicente Padilla did last night. Myers trying to become the second 15-game winner on the Phils. Randy Wolf got his 15th on Sunday at Pittsburgh. Padilla got his 14th. Bill with his 14. Here goes Myers. with a chance at 15 as he starts with a strike to Juan Pierre. And in there with a strike again, says home plate umpire Lance Barksdale. Paul Schreiber is at first, Angel Hernandez at second, and the crew chief Randy Marsh is around at third. Pierre reaches out, and there you go, Tony. There's the leadoff man on, and he has the green light whenever he wants.
He does, and it's just good hitting here by Juan Pierre. First of all, he showed he wasn't afraid to hit behind in a count. Took a ball that was really looked like it was off the plate. See Lieberthal setting up off the plate. This ball is not even a strike, and he just goes with it and slaps it in the center field for a base hit. And now the Marlins offense is off and running.
Well, and maybe literally. Now, we should say, as we'll let Luis Castillo, he of the a year ago 35-game hitting streak, all-star. You can talk about it better than I. The Phillies' philosophy, and it's not okay. Mike Lieberthal hardly throws anyone out. What's the matter with his arm? Well, really not that much. But they aren't concerned about quick to the plate.
Yeah. You're not gonna see many slide steps tonight because with this Philly staff.
And there goes Pierre. Here goes the throw. Safe. That was close.
It was.
But Pierre stole a bag just as quick as we talk about it. You can expect to see that all night long.
And the Marlins, everybody in this lineup for the Marlins is going to try to run. And Joe Kerrigan, the pitching coach for the Phillies, believes that a lot of times when pitchers slide step, kind of takes away a little something from the pitch to the plate. And so he wants his pitchers to hold the ball, to throw to first, to try to disrupt the runner's timing, but he's not going to allow his guys to go with a slide step. So that being the case, this Marlins team is one of the best base running teams in baseball, and they're going to try to make some things happen.
Well, they already did with a runner in scoring position. Ball in the dirt, and Lieberthal has to know that he's got to pounce immediately. Blocks it. It's 1-1.
Juan Pierre had thoughts of possibly stealing third there, too. This is a nice block by Lieberthal, keeps the ball in front. And Pierre, as you can see, he looked like he had thoughts of maybe trying to steal third. You got the third baseman playing in for the bunt, so it's going to be a tough play for him defensively if he does decide to go.
Well, and we should tell you that third baseman, as this is fouled off, who is playing in on the bunt for the first time in 16 games, that's Placido Polanco, who is now back. And really a key cog. He was started as a second baseman. David Bell is probably not going to come back, although we hope so. But Polanco, first time in 2.5 weeks. He's a good player.
He is. And I think he's a key guy in the Phillies' offensive lineup.
Myers busts that one in, and Castillo sits one out. And here's the way the Phillies line up defensively. A very good defensive club, as are the Marlins.
Right.
Here they are, Tony, with certainly we'll watch, and we saw last week the play of Marlon Byrd, the youngster in center field. He's a joy to watch.
He's starting to get some confidence. He's feeling very comfortable now as the center fielder on this club. He's the guy. He's the center fielder. He's going to have to take charge out there. You got two veterans now on both sides, and so. But I think Marlon Byrd's kind of getting comfortable. I think he feels like he belongs now, and defensively, he's the one who's going to have to take charge.
So this is Pudge Rodriguez, who, when he signed in the winter, I had a long talk with him down there. We've known him for a long time. He's just 31. I mean, he's been around so long, you figure, well, geez, you must be 45. He's just 31, Tony. And I said, what? Okay, you signed with Florida. You knew they had some good young pitchers. Okay, you knew they could run and you wouldn't have to be throwing them out. But what's happened? What didn't you know? And he said, well, I really didn't know that we had this many guys that could hit. I didn't know that the enthusiasm was so from 1 through 25. And he's just happy to be in a pennant race again. It's been a few years since they've been in one at Texas, Tony.
Well, see, that's the thing you learn as you get older in this game is that when you get a good bunch of guys around you, this game is fun to play. And I think Pudge is having fun again. And he deserves a lot of credit because, offensively, he's putting up typical Pudge-like numbers. But I think the way he's taking control of this young pitching staff has made a huge difference with the Marlins and their success this year.
2-0 pitch to Rodriguez is a ball again, and that's 3-0.
You know, early in the game, the Marlins, like we talked about in the beginning, they got trounced last night, 14-0, and they want to put a run on the board here. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jack McKeon gives Pudge the green light here.
Second baseman Perez just about trying to hold Pierre on. I mean, if you can do that at second base, Myers in there for a strike, 3-1.
Yeah, it's also it's for two reasons really. With Kerrigan not letting these guys slide step, that's to kind of deter Juan Pierre from possibly trying to steal third. And on the other hand, offensively, there's a big hole between first and second for Pudge to shoot at, and he's very good at going that way.
Trying to do it, but only chopped it back, and Myers has fought back to 3-2. You know, you look out at Pierre at second base, 61 stolen bases. Right? Young Crawford for Tampa over the American League is 51. Nobody else in the majors has more than 40.
Yeah.
It's not the numbers that once were when you were playing.
No, they're
so
not.
61 really jumps out at
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. And
Roger Maris had stolen bases, right? 61.
Yeah.
Now, breaking pitch up and outside, and so two men are on now for the cleanup hitter, the very underrated Big Derek Lee, the first baseman, who fields beautifully and has established himself as a pretty good hitter.
Now, this is a club that I think most of America does not know. You have Juan Pierre, who's, you know, leading the majors in stolen bases. Everybody knows Pudge. You know, if it wasn't for the hitting streak for Castillo, I don't think many people would know who he is. And Derek Lee is another one of those guys who has had just a solid year this year, 30 home runs. And it's picked up a whole lot of slack since Lowell's been out of there, driving in big runs. And he's a very good defender. This guy, he could possibly, if it wasn't a J.T. Snow in the National League, he would probably win the Gold Glove every year.
Chopper over the head of Polanco. That's a fair ball. So Pierre obviously comes in to score. Rodriguez into third. And a bounding double down the left field line. And the Marlins. Last night it was the Phillies. The Marlins are on the board first.
And that could turn out to be a huge run for the Marlins. I mean, this is just, you know, a little fastball, a little sinker in the middle of the plate. Derek Lee bounces it over Polanco's head. You know Pierre's going to score, and Barrow's got to make a decision here. Do I go to third or do I go to second? He chose to go to third, and I think the play probably was really at second base there. Try to throw Derek Lee out.
So here's the right fielder, Juan Encarnacion. Actually, talking to Jack McKeon, as we're wont to do before the game, I said, Jack, you and your right fielder have a lot in common because you're both Encarnacion. He liked it. And agreed.
Yeah.
He's got the stogie hidden away. It's a no-smoking building, but he's got one.
Always has one.
Rip. Oh, Polanco makes the grab. Well, he hadn't played for 16 days. You knew the ball was going to find him. Will be hit toward him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know, and like I said, I think Polanco is one of those guys in this Philly lineup that kind of gives them some stability, not only on the offensive end but the defensive end too. That's a pretty tough play right there. He made look pretty easy. Saves the Phillies 2 more runs.
Yep.
And then we see Joe Kerrigan out on the mound. There's something he doesn't like right off the bat, and he wants to kind of get it squared away early.
Now, while Kerrigan has a visit, they will pitch to, with still 2 runners aboard. Brett Myers now has to solve the original Marlin who's returned. Jeff Conine was an original Florida Marlin. God, I did opening day there that year, Tony, in 1993. Charlie Huff was pitching.
I remember.
Frank Pulley was behind the plate. The Marlins won. Conine was there, represented them in the All-Star game, won an All-Star game, right? He has traveled around, but very quickly, Florida went out and got him when the home run hitter Mike Lowell went down.
Right.
Now, Jeff Conine is not Mike Lowell, nor is he really hit yet. You see, as a Marlin, he's below 200, but there's some presence there.
Yeah, and veteran, and this team needs some other veterans. And to get him and stick him in the middle of the lineup, some experienced bat, you know, a guy that you know, been through it with this club before. You see Mike Lowell on the bench. And that doesn't look like a cast. That looks like a splint now, so that could be a good sign.
And Conine goes past the diving Tomey. Rodriguez scores. Lee scores. Conine in with a double, and there's the double that plates 2 more. 3-0 Florida.
And this is huge for Florida. Like I said, they got beat 14-0 last night. And when you get to these kind of games where the division is at stake, usually the team that puts the runs on the board first is going to be that relaxed team. And that's good hitting by Conine. Doesn't try to pull that ball, goes with it. Knocks in 2 runs, gives the Marlins an early 3-0 lead.
And another running in scoring position for Miguel Cabrera, who really has had to, he's come up from the minor leagues as a heck of a prospect and played a couple games in left, which he hadn't played. And now Logos, how about third? I know you played it for a while, and now you're left field, but how about some third base? Pretty good.
And pretty good numbers, too. I mean, 53 RBIs for a guy that's been in the big leagues a little bit over 2 months. And coming in and finding himself in a pennant race.
Bounced and booted around by everybody down there. Well, they said coming in, we really didn't have a chance to elaborate. We wanted to get into the running, which we saw. We wanted to get into the contributions of guys like Conine, which we saw. But Brett Myers, like so many pitchers, Tony, first, second inning, more susceptible.
Yeah.
And tonight, no different. Off the paraphernalia.
When you get these young pitchers on the hill, you want to try to jump on them first. You want to put the pressure on them. And the Marlins have done that. They put 3 runs on the board. The Phillies find themselves a half game out of the lead. And so now they got to play catch up.
Struck him out, but not until the Marlins hang a very important 3 spot in the first. The Phillies had 4 in the first last night. Can they come right back? So Florida with 3 runs, and now here come the Phillies to try to do something about it. And here is Larry Bowa's lineup with Polanco in there for the first time in 2.5 weeks. Lieberthal with the 6 ribbies last night, and as Tony, you pointed out, against the lefty Mark Redman. Tomey then hits 5. Lieberthal, the righty, hitting in the cleanup spot tonight for this Phillies lineup. Well, everybody had a hit. 7 of them had 2 or more. It was complete obliteration of Pavano and the Marlins last night. But here's another night,
yep.
Right?
Yep.
Momentum is as good as what? Tonight's start.
Yeah, he's exactly right. And tonight they're facing Mark Redman. And he's a guy that is not going to be overpowering tonight. He's going to change speeds. He's going to work both halves of the plate, but he's not going to flat out throw the fastball by you. So the Phillies hitters are going to have to be patient.
Redman was, as we look at Marlon Byrd, who really has had a big second half as the Phillies offense were close to a run better per game, and he draws a leadoff walk, and that's the last thing you want to do when you can stake to a 3-run lead very quickly, walk their leadoff guy.
Yeah, you want to get the leadoff hitter out if you can.
Here's that defense that's so good that we talked about. Look, Pierre can just go get it. The double play combination is outstanding. And Pudge, 10 gold gloves.
10 gold gloves, and pretty much shuts down the running game of the opposition. And that wasn't the case last night because they didn't need to. They banged the ball around. And so, you know, you're Mark Redman. You get a 3-0 lead. You want to come in and get outs. And the last thing you want to do is walk the leadoff hitter.
But he did it. And here is Placido Polanco, who looked at strike 1. Well, the Phillies have been hoping. He was hoping to come back over the weekend at Pittsburgh, a weekend which saw the Phillies lose 2 or 3. And now he is back tonight. Little nubber. Redman looks. Will have to go to first, so it's a swinging bunt. 1 out. So Bird at second, and now Bobby Abreu up. Abreu hitting at .305 this year. 20 homers and 96 ribbies. Let's see, last night they had 14 runs. The Tuesday before that, when we were in Atlanta, they had 18 runs. So, you know, if they could just play all their games on a Tuesday.
We talked about them carrying some over the next night, too. And,
yeah, well, isn't that hard? Right now, we knew that last time, right? We did the game last week in Atlanta. You get 18, you get 14, you're almost bound to not get very many. Why is that?
I don't know. I don't know. I think, you know, you think about it, you'd love to carry them over the next day. You know, and then the Marlins come right out and put the pressure on them, put 3 runs on the board in the first. And now, you know, you don't want to try to get greedy here. You just, you know, a run an inning gets you right back into the game. You don't have to try to hit a home run here. Just methodically work your way back into the ballgame.
But why is it you get 14 and then you get 2? Why?
It's matchups. This is a game of matchups. And obviously last night, Carl Pavano pitched for Florida, and you know, Phillies have a whole lot of left-handed bats in there, and Abreu and Rollins and Tomei, and so now you got a lefty. They shift their lineup a little bit. Polanco goes into the 2-hole tonight where Rollins was in the 2-hole. You know, maybe sometimes the matchups just don't work for you to be able to put them up there in bunches.
2-1 pitch to Abreu for Mark Redmond in there for a strike. So it's 2-2. Redmond, the big 6'5" lefty, who was 10-5 at one point this year, but has struggled his last half-dozen starts. He's hoping that sinking fastball just doesn't sink well tonight. Way outside, count is full.
And saw Pudge jump up out of his crouch.
I was just saying, who's going anywhere with him back there? Come on.
He's letting everybody know.
Give us a break. You're not going anywhere. I don't care if you're Ricky Henderson.
Watch Pudge come up out of the chute here.
Yeah,
he's daring somebody to possibly try to take an extra or take a base on him.
Another walk. They're 2 on for Michael Lieberthal, who drove in 6 last night. In the studio tonight, John Butchergrass, Rob Dibble. Hey, guys.
Hey, boys. The hunt for October takes us to Chicago today. Cubs and Mets, Rob, and Ramis Ramirez, 53rd Cub game, 11th home run.
Yeah, Doug Glanville had hit his first home run before this, and then Kerry Wood takes over. He had not pitched well in his last 10 starts, 2-5 in that span.
125 pitch, complete game, 11 Ks, boom, Cubs win.
All right, fellas, you know, Kerry Wood had back problems. I know a half hour before that game started, they weren't sure if he could go.
Wow.
Bad back, 11 strikeouts.
Sure didn't look like he had a bad back. I mean, he was throwing the ball really good today.
The Cubs in Houston, boy, they're flying now. Meanwhile, Rodriguez flew out to the mound to talk to Redmond, who starts off Lieberthal with a ball. Hey, we got a 3-run lead, right? What do you think? You know, just throw strikes, see what happens.
Yeah, throw strikes. You know, try not to get in the middle of the plate, but we got to work ahead. It's easier to pitch a ball game working ahead instead of working behind, because with these big league hitters, you get behind in the count, it makes it a whole lot easier to hit. 2-0, 1-0, 2-0. You're not going to just go up there looking for something off speed.
Down the right field line, Derek Lee with a long run. He won't quite get there, and it bounds in the stands. And you see some of the bunting, if you will. It's interesting, green Philly fanatic bunting of names of some of the Philly greats that have graced this stadium for 30-plus years. Dutch Dalton, the heart and soul of that championship team in '93. Larry Boa, one of the key cogs in that championship team of 1980. And, yeah, Mike Lieberthal. Maybe he can have a championship or at least a playoff team help lead them here in 2003. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see if the vet gets a stay of execution, Tony, if the Phillies make it. I think the rats in the building will really like it.
Yeah.
Oh, we get another week, boss.
You got Lieberthal, who had big hits in last night's game. Tomei on deck.
He homered last night, too.
He homered.
1-2 again to Lieberthal inside for ball.
Another thing, this crowd is active already early in the game. They're down 3-0, and it started to fill in nicely here.
It did. That lower bowl filled in quickly, didn't it?
I think they're truly excited about this Phillies club, and I would like to see them get in it.
Bat and ball. This is a tricky play, and the Marlins are going to turn. Oh, no, they don't. Off the bag. Lee pulled off the bag. On the relay by Castillo. Boy, did Cabrera stay with that nicely, Tony.
He did. I mean, the ball and the barrel were almost getting there at the exact same time. And Redmond gets a little cutter in there, and look at it. He just kept his eye on the ball. Castillo with a nice turn. Derek Lee's foot comes off the bag, I guess.
Ooh.
And he calls him safe. And I mean, they were almost got themselves right out of this inning. Castillo's throw kind of up the line a little bit. And awfully close.
Schreiber's right there, though. I mean, he saw it better than all of us. And so that enables the Phillies to stay alive with 2 on for Jim Thome, and the pitch is up. Boy, how about the mustard on Castillo's throw, huh?
Castillo, yeah. I mean, just good concentration by Cabrera at third. Castillo staying and hanging in there and putting some steam on the throw to first, kind of just a little bit up the line.
But little things, right, Tony? Little things allow Thome to come up.
Absolutely.
And he's certainly capable of depositing one, even though it's lefty-lefty.
Yeah. 41 homers and 119 ribbies. You'd much rather just take the double play and have him leading off the second inning.
Plus, you know, Redmond, Twins, Tigers. Thome has gotten more looks at him than you would think.
Yeah.
It is Redmond's 3rd start against the Phillies this year, too. In there for a strike. 2-2. So Florida played at 3 in the first. The Phillies a bird at 3rd. Lieberthal at first. Thome at the plate. And we'll go full. So we know at least Lieberthal will be moving.
Looks like a pretty good pitch by Redmond.
Hello, crowd.
This crowd gets into it.
Not tonight with runs in the first. So it's Florida that has the big advantage. We played a frame here at the vet. 3-0 Marlins. Back here in the second inning is the number 8 hitter, Alex Gonzalez, who's had some big home runs and big hits for this team. Hitting the 8-hole, Gonzalez, the pitcher Redmond, and then Pierre at the top of the lineup. In there for a strike on the inside corner. So after giving up 3 runs on 3 hits, 14-game winner Brett Myers. And that was just a boy. You just knew Polanco would have his hands full tonight.
You know, in between innings, Joe Kerrigan and Brett Myers were talking, and I'm sure this conversation had to be about the first batter, Juan Pierre. He was ahead in the count 0-2, and he's telling Kerrigan, hey, I threw this ball that far outside and off the plate, and he was right. He did throw it out that far, but Pierre served it in the center field and got a base hit, and that started the rally. And so Kerrigan, I'm sure, was reminding him that, you know, you get ahead 0-2, you still got to make a quality pitch. And this ball is off the plate to Juan Pierre, and he just serves it in the center field. That's how the rally got started for the Marlins. And every now and then, good hitters hit good pitches.
Gonzalez punched out, so 1 down here in the second. Let's head it over to Butchie.
The hunt for October takes us to Boston. Damian rolls up with 2 on. Red Sox 2.5 up on Seattle, who's in Texas tonight, Rob.
There's nothing more fun, Boots, than being the spoiler in September and trying to make sure Boston doesn't go to the playoffs.
Red Sox threatening 2 on, 1 out.
The Devil Rays playing much better ball the second half of the season under Lou Piniella. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day.
No.
He really said, we're going to have them playing better ball than they are. They made Pedro work last night in a complete game. You know, run in the 9th, kept it alive, made Pedro really labor.
They've made everybody work. You know, I mean, Lou's got them playing hard, and they're learning how to play the game at this level. It takes some time, but I'm confident he's gonna do well.
The pitcher Mark Redmond, and the count is 1-2. One and one. I thought so. Everybody in the park is 1-2. Oh, 1-2 is done. So what are we talking about?
It looked like Jack McKeon and some of the Marlins staff giving the umpire a little bit of a hard time because this is strike two,
right.
and he's giving them the strike three. You're out of there.
Yeah, but really.
And the Marlins side is going to rag him a little bit because Mr. Barksdale thought he'd rung him up and give the strike three sign, and it was only strike two.
He's the Swami. He says the guy is hitting 0-18, okay? He's going to be striking out, all right? So I'm just trying to save everybody the way.
I'm sure that's the case. This is playoff baseball. He might serve one out there. You never know.
Three straight strikeouts, actually, by Myers now as he faces the top of the order, Pierre. The Marlins have really done a good job against the Phillies this year. I mean, I know they lost 14-0 last night, but they won 8 in a row before that against the Phillies. And in their mastery of Philadelphia, which was 9-5, Pierre is 11 for 11 in stolen bases. He stole one tonight. Something to keep in mind.
Pierre is a guy that is the igniter, him and Castillo, for this lineup. And he's done a nice job as a leadoff hitter here in both his at-bats. He took 2 pitches the first time up and singled to center. And now he's seen 4 pitches this at-bat, and that's the first time he swung the bat this at-bat.
Ooh. That one back hard. So the Pierre Preston Wilson trade, I would say there's one of those proverbials that worked out for both clubs, huh?
Yeah.
Preston, all-star, he's having a huge year with Colorado. But Pierre gives them such a running tandem at the top of this lineup.
Well, he gave the Marlins exactly what they wanted, which is a leadoff hitter who can steal some bases. He's got 180. Let me double check because I was looking at this earlier today. Pierre has 189 hits now. He's making a run at 200, and that's what you want from your leadoff guy. A guy that doesn't strike out a lot. He's the hardest to fan in the National League. He's working on trying to get 200 hits. He's going to score 100 runs, it looks like. And with Castillo, who's a carbon copy of Pierre, you got 2 guys at the top of your lineup who, can get on, steal a base, score you a run.
Little slap to short. Jimmy Rollins. Tomey. Pierre hustling down the line, but the throw beats him. So a 1-2-3, and this time for Myers. 3-0 Florida. Swinging at the first pitch, fouls this one away from Mark Redmond. Burrell, not that the 214 in late September is anything to maybe do a war dance on. However, the way he was scuffling this year, what did Larry Boa tell us last week? I'm looking for a couple of weeks. He's a kind of a guy that can really get going. At 2 hits last night. He's average creeping. Hard to move it at this time of the year.
Just getting ready to say that. It is.
So he's hitting better.
Yeah.
And he can really take over.
We had him earlier this month, and he was riding on the interstate, and now he's over. I mean, to get from a $197 to 214, you got to do some hitting.
Well, he's hit this one pretty well to right center field, and that's going to hang up there plenty of time for Juan Pierre. And there is one out here in the Phillies' second, Butchie and Dibbs.
The hunt for October takes us to Cleveland. Johnny Peralta is going to bring in Greg LaRocca. And Cleveland has a 2-0 lead on the Royals, Dibbs.
Well, right now, a lot of these guys in the Cleveland Indians trying to make the team for next year, Booch, and they're beating up on the Royals.
Don't forget Twins White Sox on ESPN 2 coming up.
It wasn't long ago we'd shift to Cleveland in September, and the Royals would be the by the way. And, of course, Cleveland, 15 games up in the AL Central. Yeah. Times have changed.
They change quickly, too. It's not like it's like we're used to seeing it.
Jimmy Rollins. Yeah, they talked about the AL Central, the Twins and White Sox. A big win by the Twins last night. And they play the Tigers home and home, whereas the White Sox still have, if I'm not mistaken, the Yankees left. I think they have the Royals left. They had a much tougher go. So these two games, and Minnesota, you know, that scene's going to be loud.
Yeah. And this time of year, you got to beat people. And I think you get to this time of the year, you got to start trying to beat people. And it doesn't really matter if you're playing Cleveland or you're playing, Kansas City or contenders. You're going to have to beat them, because this time of year, the good teams find ways to win ball games.
And you can't assume. Anyone's going to lose.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's absolutely right. You got to go out and you have to beat people. And it really doesn't matter, where they are in the division or where they are in the big picture. You're going to have to go out there and play your best baseball and beat people.
You can't ever assume, as Rollins walked, and this is Tomas Perez. I go back 10 years ago to I don't want to call it the last great pennant race, but in the old ways it was, with no wild card, when Atlanta won 104 and the Giants won 103. And I'll tell the story in a minute. The Giants lost the league because Atlanta was playing unbelievable. And I remember Dusty Baker, that was his first year managing the Giants. He goes, Chris, Atlanta's got to lose to Colorado once, don't they? They got to lose who they finished the year with once. And they didn't.
Yeah.
18 for 18, and they lost the, can't ever assume they're going to lose. Doesn't happen.
And it's, because we look at the numbers. You look at, I heard it earlier today watching the Cubs game. The Cubs have the easier schedule. Houston has to go in and play St. Louis. They've got to play San Francisco. And, the Cubs are playing the Mets and the Reds. And it just, you can't assume that because the teams below 500 are out of the running that they're going to roll over, because they're not. They're going to play you tougher because everybody expects them to lose.
Those are the only games on their schedule that mean anything to them, right?
That's exactly right. And I've been in that position many times where you're the team that's going in there trying to knock people off.
Perez fishing on that one will sit. Case in point, Florida ends with Mets.
Right.
Phillies end with Atlanta.
On paper, you'd think, as Redmond just throws his fastball by Perez, you would think on paper that there's no question that the Marlins have the advantage.
At the end.
They're finishing up against the Mets, and the poor Phillies, they're playing the Braves. But you know what? You got to strap it on and beat people. And you got to do things right in order to beat people.
This is Brett Myers. Hitting 136, not bad. Has a double. It's better than 018 for Redmond. 018, now that's a serious number now.
He's still, though, he's got 3 numbers, though. If a pitcher can have 3 numbers, even if it starts with a 1, that's pretty good.
Well, he's above the interstate. See, we should. Mendoza line's 200. The interstate is 100.
100.
Anything below 100, it's I-18 or I-80. 1 and 2 to Myers. Chopper, Redmond. Over to first. And the Phillies are gone. Pudge Rodriguez coming up.
ESPN's Wednesday Night Baseball, brought to you by Century 21, the official real estate organization of Major League Baseball.
Chris Berman, Tony Gwynn with you here at the Vet in Philadelphia. Very nice night, very temperate, beautiful day. Temperate evening, however, Hurricane Isabel due to hit Carolina and Virginia. And hence tomorrow's game, as Castillo faces Myers here in the third, has been moved up from a night game to a 1 o'clock start here. And the winds, see, just a chopper by Castillo to Rollins. Knowing who's running, look at the way he got rid of the ball. 1 out. Let's hit the studio, fellas.
The hunt for October takes us to Fenway, and for a boy who grew up on Rhode Island like that, man, there's nothing cooler than hitting a home run in Fenway Park.
The only problem, the 21-year-old probably not get the Rookie of the Year, but he deserves it.
Red Sox down 2-0. Yankees and David Wells getting pounded. So the Red Sox, who have a chance to go 4.5 back with the win and a Yankee loss, are not taking advantage.
And they're going to play an afternoon game there as well at Baltimore because of the impending hurricane. Red Sox, Mariners. It's the Mariners really sputtering. Now's not the time to do it. And it's possible, but they got 6 left with the A's.
Yeah.
That's that AL wild card
They
race.
can control their fate 2 ways. You know, they got 6 left with the A's, but you know, when you have opportunities to cut into that lead in a wild card race, you'd love to. If they haven't been able to do that.
Did I hit him? Hit the nub of the bat. Got to be a foul ball off the number to Pudge Rodriguez.
You know, I always go by the reaction of the hitter here.
Yeah.
That hits his hand. You can try to be macho, but you're going to jump around a little bit and let people know that hurt. And
Fouled off on 0-2. And so the wind whipping a little bit. We just hope that everything goes all right with those folks at Cape Hatteras and, you know, Virginia Beach, Newport News, and wherever it's going to go. And a lot of people not far from here. You're the Maryland shore, the Delaware shore, the people boarding up. I mean, just hopefully that it's downgraded enough, and most importantly, no lives in jeopardy. Pudge Rodriguez paid. As Myers now in certainly a different sort of groove than he was in the first inning, Tony. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row.
And since the first inning, he's had pretty good command. He's been able to put the ball where he wanted to, and that's, you know, pitch he wanted last inning that he didn't get. This time he gets it. I don't think Pudge agreed with it, but falling behind hitters in the first inning, he's done a much better job of working ahead.
In there for a strike to Derek Lee. I think the youngster was just too hyped up, although, you know, the Phillies weren't worried about being hyped up in the first. They just, look at this, he's in a groove now with Lee. There was something to that look. It's your first pennant race. How can you not be?
Well, I think you probably are. And you know, Joe Kerrigan went out there early to maybe settle him down. And, you know, but, you know, the kid he threw some pretty good pitches, and Maryland's did a good job of putting their bat on. But since the first, he's really settled down. He's working ahead in the count. You know, he's been able to throw his changeup over for a strike. He hadn't thrown his breaking ball a lot yet, but when he has thrown it, he's been able to throw that for a strike.
Well, every Philly thought that was done, right?
And that's the pitch he got Pudge out on. And he comes back with this changeup, and it's down. And it looks like a pretty good pitch from here.
He wanted that punch out that, right?
Yep.
From before. He gets it now. The second 1-2 inning for Brett Myers. He's finding his groove. Can the Phillies bats? Wednesday Night Baseball returns to Philadelphia. Chris Berman, Tony Gwynn, and swinging at the first pitch from the lefty Mark Redmond is the Phillies' young center fielder Marlon Bird. Strike one. Bird and Brett Myers. These were two of the guys that, you know, last year we waiting for these guys to come up, and Bird had a little bit, and Myers pitched some of the year here, and now they're both really stepped up big time. Sometimes, you know, potential is a dangerous word, Tony, but Phillies were right on in not nursing them and anticipating their arrival here in the bigs.
Yeah, and, you know, the Phillies showed a lot of patience. Let them go out there and let them make their mistakes.
Ed Wade, the general manager, Redmond makes short shrift with Bird there. After walking him in the first, he Ks him here in the third, 1 out. Of course, our triple-header continues. We had Wrigley this afternoon of the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers. Tonight on ESPN, and the Dodgers are the kind of the quiet team in this NL wild card race. They lost last night to Arizona. Dave O'Brien and David Justice on the call. There's Edwin Jackson pitching tonight for the Dodgers. It's young Webb, who's really done a nice job for Arizona later on. Of course, ESPN2 having the Twins at home against the White Sox. So we should remind everybody that the majority of those opening round division round playoffs and any one-game playoff that might be needed will be seen on ESPN.
If you love baseball, this is where you need to be.
How about the Phillies losing every coin toss? They had 6 of them. They're 0 for 6.
I heard that today. That's
It's hard to lose 6.
It's hard to lose all of them.
Larry Ball called tails in every one and came up head 6 times. Look at this attempted throw from short. By Gonzalez, at least he gave it a go, but Polanco in there running with that bad thigh. So why not try it just in case?
And that's the Phillies' first hit. I mean, Gonzalez here goes a long way, and look how quick he gets rid of it. And Polanco being able to run beats it out.
You see how Lee stood there? I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Deacon him like,
Tried
there's
to
no
deke him.
throw. Don't worry about it. Bobby Abreu. Phillies trail 3-0.
You know, we talked about early in the game when facing Mark Redmond, you got to be patient because he's not going to just come in there with, with the fastball. You're going to have to stand in there and maybe hit a changeup or hit a breaking ball.
That one a little bit.
There's the change right there. He's not an overpowering guy, and he's not going to just lay it in there for you to hit. So you're going to have to be very patient at the plate. Try to get a pitch that you can handle. And he's done a real good job with his location already early in the game. And much like Brett Myers early in the game, in the first inning, both guys kind of struggled with their control. Redmond started the inning off with a walk to Marlon Byrd to start the game. And since the first inning, both of these guys have really kind of settled in and been able to throw strikes.
Late game hitting streak for Abreu, and look at that. Yikes. Redmond has settled down. John Dibbs.
The hunt for October takes us to Canada and Javi Lopez with the Canadian blast, as Chris used to say during hockey highlights. Bobby Cox says he'll start in the playoffs when Greg Maddux pitches.
Yeah, you need a guy with 41 home runs. He's a free agent. He's on fire. You need his punch in there.
The Marlins come back to win your game, Chris. The Braves win the NL East.
Very simple, huh? Very simple. The Braves rolling. Thank you very much for the cannonading blast. Javi caught Maddux last night, but he didn't get that 15th win. They blew the game in the 9th, and then they lost it at Exmouth.
Well, you said it last week. There was a good chance that Javi was going to be behind the plate.
Yeah, I have my sources there. Over a leaping Castillo as a base hit, and this is going to run all the way to the wall by Lieberthal. Polanco being waved around. He'll score. Lieberthal comes through again. The Phillies on the board.
Nice hitting by Lieberthal. He didn't try to pull this ball. He went right with it. Ball out over the plate, a little bit up. He just goes with it. And when it gets in that gap, boy, Pierre and Carciel can't cut this ball off. And Polanco's running from the time it was hit. Scores the run. The Phillies are on the board.
And Polanco back in the lineup, and, balls hit at him. He got an infield hit, scored a run from first. He's busy, and now they hope that Jim Thome can get busy. As Redmond busts that one down. Thome swings and misses, strike one.
And that pitch right there, if you're a hitter, because most left-handed pitchers don't like throwing change-ups to left-handed hitters. And he started him out with a change. Comes back with the fastball. Thome thinks that ball was down. Nice frame job by Pudge behind the plate.
He's done that before.
And he's had some experience doing that.
What do we say about Pudge Rodriguez? This is not his first rodeo.
No, not. He's been through the playoff awards before, too. He knows he's standing up there at the plate.
He's been through the playoff awards as well. That way. Just told me even looking at the Marlins makes him sick probably when he thinks back to '97.
Yeah.
He's in Indians. His teammate Jose Mesa. They probably don't discuss it that much.
Probably not. But you know what, though? Having gotten beat has probably been the fuel for him.
Just foul, says Randy Marsh at third. Boy, you don't see Tomey do that very often, Tony.
You know, when I didn't even look to see where the fielders were when he took that swing, but, you know, Cabrera's playing him pretty much straight up regular third base, where everybody we've seen has played all their infielders over on the right side. And I once again, I watched Tomey take batting practice today. He hit balls to left field all day long. And this might be one of those times he takes a shot.
Good patience there to work this count back to 3-2. Foul with a runner at second. They can't have the full shift, but it's a pretty decent one. The shortstop Gonzalez just barely on the third base side of second. You can see that shift. Big hole at shortstop, but Tomey can do that. Oh, he hits it better than that. Back it goes, back. We're tied.
Well, I watched him today in batting practice, and he did that all day long today. He didn't even try to pull balls. It looked like Redmond got a ball up in the zone, and Tomey did what good hitters do. You go with it. You don't have to take that ball and pull it.
Well, they're calling him for a curtain call. He didn't want to come out last night. He did. The place went nuts. This place is now officially juiced.
It's electric. That was an electric moment here.
Home run number 42 for Jim Tomey. Count 0-2 and fought it back and drove it the other way.
And really, that foul ball that he hit down the third base line is what really should let you know that he can do that.
Derek Lee in fair ground. Burrow pops up to end the inning, but not until the Phillies come roaring back with a 3-spot thanks to this 2-run blast by Jim Tomey. Can you hear me? I think they heard him down the Schuylkill Expressway. Brand new game here in the top of the 4th as the Marlins and Phillies are now knotted at 3. Middle game of this 3-game set. 14-0 Philadelphia last night. They'll play tomorrow afternoon. And Jim Tomey had a big ovation as he went out to first base. Millwood and Dontrell Willis tomorrow afternoon. And then 3 games in Florida Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week between these two. No one expects to take 5 of 6 really, but you if you set out for that, or I guess you can't look past the one game, can you?
You cannot. And the team gets on a run like the Phillies are. They only scored 14 last night. They fall behind 3-0 today. Tomey gets them even. You know, if a team gets on a run, sometimes you just don't feel like they can beat you. Sometimes you don't feel like you can hold them off. So, you know, they're going to still have to go out there and play them.
1-2 pitch to Ron Encarnacion. And wanted that one inside, but did not get it. Encarnacion.
Lieberthal setting up right under his knuckles, and it's exactly where he wanted it, but tad inside.
Encarnacion, remember, came over from the Reds in the middle of last year for one of the many highly touted young pitchers of the Marlins, Ryan Dempster. And come over to the Reds from the Tigers just the half year before that for Dimitri Young. And he traded for some pretty good guys, and I don't think he's going anywhere quite yet now. They love his defense in addition to potential he brings at the plate.
Encarnacion's numbers are pretty good, too. 273, 17 homers, 88 RBIs, and he kind of gets lost in the shuffle with the Lowells and the Derek Lees, but he's a solid player himself.
No, I was outside. A good eye by Encarnacion. No, it's best about him, his arm and right.
He's a really good defender. See Myers trying to nip off that outside corner. And that, I think, is the biggest difference in balls and strikes now.
Fisted to second. Tomas Perez, Jim Thome, 1 out. Now here was the moment that knotted this thing up. 42nd home run by Thome.
Yeah, and really the only thing wrong with that pitch from Redmond is that it was elevated. When you elevate a ball to a power hitter like that, and he's going to take advantage of it. And the point I was making before was that, the difference now as compared to maybe a couple of years ago is when a catcher sets up off the dish and he hits that glove dead center now, it's not always called a strike now like it used to be.
You saw that it's the most home runs by a Philly since Mike Schmidt at 48 back in 1980. And they have had, the bat hasn't been around like Fenway or Wrigley or Yankee Stadium, but Mike Schmidt having 48 home runs. The Bull, Greg Luzinski. I mean, we've had some guys who could swat the thing here. And another note, his 22nd homer this year at the vet. Tied for the second most ever. Who had the most ever at the vet in 1 year? Darren Johnson, Greg Luzinski, Mike Schmidt. Had to be Schmitty, right? Of course.
Yeah.
Who else would it be?
Or Luzinski.
Yeah, any Philly home run question, you're going to go Schmidt.
Oh, yeah.
Schmidt at 25 in 1980. Think they came in handy that year? They only won the World Series.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. He was a great player. Mike Schmidt was one of my favorite guys growing up, and getting an opportunity to play against him, I mean, he was one of the best.
Jeff Conine rips this to left. Back goes Burrow. Back. He'll look up and watch the Marlins retake the lead. Do you think this game is for any pennant, any postseason spot, Tony?
Oh, yeah, I don't think there's any question. This is another ball that's up and in, and Conine short strokes that to left field, and on one pitch the game kind of changes, and Myers knows he missed. He wanted that ball more on the outside part of the plate, and it just ran right over the heart of the plate.
So Conine acquired on August 31st from the Orioles. It's his second Marlin home run, and the Florida Marlins have regained the lead. Here's young Miguel Cabrera. Struck out looking to end the first. You know what he is, Tony? A good professional hitter.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And that's why the Marlins went out and got it. They needed somebody who could come in and give them some experience, to give them an experienced bat. A guy who's been through the playoff scenarios before. And you look at that Marlins bench, they look pretty calm.
They do.
They don't look like, there's any pressure. Hey, boys, we got to have this game tonight. They look pretty calm. They look pretty confident. And that's what Jack McKeon brings to the table. He allows these guys to play their game and do their thing.
Up the middle. Base hit by Cabrera. So here come the Marlins. Marlins have a game in hand. And the half-game lead they have over the Phillies. The key thing is they still have one game advantage in the loss column. Don't forget the Cubs now. They're that Central. They've crept back in the picture just in case these guys go 3-3 against each other, and You know, there might be a backdoor play available for the Cubs or the Astros in the NL Central.
Yeah.
Could be.
And don't forget about the Dodgers. They're down there, too. And although they
beat the Padres. What's up with that, Tony?
I don't know. They swept the Padres. And
man, that's automatic.
And then the Diamondbacks came in, and Kurt Schilling shut them down. And a whole lot of scenarios still possible. And if you like baseball in September, especially this kind of playoff atmosphere type baseball, this should be fun coming down the stretch.
Now, the best scenario, win the remaining games and try your luck at that.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly. If you're the Phillies or the Marlins,
win them all?
You win them all.
I like your chances.
Yeah, you're in. You just can't assume that that's going to happen. I think when you're playing on, if you're playing on either one of these teams, you feel like it can.
Chopper into the Philly dugout. I'm just thinking about Conine, and he was here the very beginning of Florida, the first year, played all 162 games for that team. Managed. That was the Latchmans.
Yeah.
Renee, and then Marcel was the pitching coach, and then he hung through the '97 World Championship, and he's the one vestige of that. He's in Marlin colors, hoping to get back in there again.
Well, he's one of the, yeah, you're right. He's one of the few guys who can show him his ring and show
from here
what they were playing for. That's Mike Lowell with the splint on his hand behind him.
You know, they're 0-2 to Alex Gonzalez on Lowell, and that's ripped. So all of a sudden, here come the Marlins, who are now teeing off on Brett Myers. Let's tee it up and hit it to the studio, fellas.
The hunt for October takes us to Texas. Carlos Guillen in the house. Carlos Guillen out of the house. Did Seattle got to win tonight?
Yes, Seattle's 2.5 back of Boston right now. They need to win every game down the stretch and not worry about what Boston does.
Well, speaking of Boston, no, they're losing 3-0. They have just one hit tonight. The D-Rays have 7 off Jeff Suppan, who once again is ineffective for the Red Sox.
Zambrano's a pretty good pitcher for Tampa Bay. So there's that race, as we've showed you, 2.5. But as you point out, Tony, Mariners can still with the A's, but they have to win most of the rest of their games.
Yeah, they do. They do, and it's been tough on them. Ichiro's been struggling, and when he struggles, they struggle offensively. And you know, guys are going to have to pick it up a notch if they want to make a run at going to the postseason. Well, Brett Myers just gave up another 0-2 base hit, and Joe Harrigan sprinted out of that dugout to get out there to talk to him.
Well, here's the pitcher, Redmond, and he's going to, I'll give you 3 guesses of what he's going to do, and the first 2 don't count. Here's a strike. You know, he made an out the last time up, but his average did not get lower than 018. I you know, it didn't move.
He must be, that tells you he's a good pitcher.
Yeah. That's a good bunt now. That's exactly what he's supposed to do. Bunts both runners over. Cabrera to third. Gonzalez to second, 2 out. And if Juan Pierre can just reach out and slap one, it could be another 3-run Marlin inning.
I mean, pitcher Redmond does exactly what he's supposed to do. He gets the bunt down. He makes the third baseman field it. He's only got 1 play. And now you're looking for a little 2-out lightning here. And from an offensive standpoint, this is your toughest situation to hit when you got 2 outs. You know, you got to get the base hit to get the run in. You know, you hope they make an error or you get a wild pitch, but you know, you have to deliver with the bat.
Blocked by Lieberthal there. On ball 1-1, Pierre. Young man from Mobile, Alabama. Went to school right there at the University of South Alabama. Told you, leads the majors with 61 stolen bases, 1 of which came tonight. Only 6 years of age. 13th round pick by Colorado back in '98. And he certainly has blossomed with them and with the Marlins. Even that, with Mike Hampton for Charles Johnson, Preston Wilson, to a big trade, helping out both teams. What can Pierre do in this at bat?
That's the first breaking ball they've thrown, and they've tried to get him out all night tonight with changeups. And he fell behind 2-0 there and threw him a 2-0 breaking ball for a strike. Let's see what they'll try to do this time.
Now it's a back. Count is 2-2. So 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, 2 on. Top of the 4th. 1 run home on Conine's home run. Marlins lead at 4-3.
Pierre's a guy that usually puts the bat on the ball. He doesn't strike out that much. Toughest guy in the National League to strike out. So if you're Brett Myers, you figure he's probably going to put the bat on the ball. So I don't need to be perfect here. Just make a good pitch. I'm sure Lieberthal's going to go out and remind him now. You had him 0-2. And he flipped the single out there to center field. This guy's going to put the bat on the ball. So you got to make a quality pitch here.
Count full. Castillo on deck. Pierre trying to slap one. To left, coming on is Burrow. Oh, he slides and it's past him. 2-run score. Look at Pierre Motor. He takes a look at third. And I guess with 2 outs, didn't look like he was going to get to that ball.
No.
All right, so
no.
1 run's going to score. The second one might not have.
Probably 2, because with 2 outs and runners, the guys are running.
Well, he almost got it, huh?
Barrow gave it a good run and came up a little short. But that's what Juan Pierre does. 2 strikes. He's just looking to put the ball in play, make the defense get him out. Ends up getting a double, driving home 2 runs. That 2-out hit.
3 is the number tonight. 3 for the Marlins in the first, 3 of the Phillies in the third, and now look at the Marlins, knowing that they've hung a 3. They get down. Yes, the ball got down. It got by him.
See, that's what I mean. September baseball is fun. And you can see it on the look on the Marlins' faces when that ball fell in. That's why this time of the year is the best time of the year to play baseball. When you're in the hunt and you got a chance to, to get to the dance, there's nothing better than playing good baseball, and especially when you're on the road.
Reminds me of Jackson Brown, and I might have this line a little wrong. When you hear the crowd and you see the lights and you hear the crowd, you remember why you came.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
And Brandon Duckworth started the year the number 5 starter, and relegated to the bullpen up throwing in case Myers can't find the handle again. Myers apparently doesn't like to work in tie games, right? Started the game, gave up 3. Okay, we tied it at 3. Let me give up 3.
He gives up 3. He told me he hit the home run that got him even, and this place went crazy. And he gets the first out of the 4th, and then Conine goes deep, and Pierre 2-out hit, drives in 2. And here they are right back in that 3-run hole again.
Burrow gave it a go.
He did.
Get it trapped there. Might have kept that second run at third because it was pretty shallow. It does get scored as a double, by the way. Well, now Castillo's walked and Pudge Rodriguez up. So Myers struggled. Then for then a couple innings was ba-boom, ba-boom.
Yep. 6 punch outs.
In the 4th, he's scuffling, and what a surprise, some boos in Philadelphia.
You're right. And just when it looked like Philly was right back in the game, they're down 3 again with it. Well, it's, you know, base hit here. And
well, these guys can fly.
Yeah.
Chopper, Polanco naturally involved, steps on third, and the threat is gone. But not until a 3-run inning spurred by Jeff Conine's home run off Brett Myers. 6-3 Marlins. Marlins lead at 6-3 now, and the Phillies now have to try to bounce back at the plate here in the bottom of the 4th. Chris Berman, Tony Gwynn, so glad you could be with us on ESPN's Wednesday Night Baseball. The 8th to last game at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. The Eagles have moved next door to the Link. Since they're 0-2 and they lost both preseason games 0-4, didn't take long for some in Philly to call it the stink. But they'll win. Don't worry. We went over there and settled them down today. And here come the Phillies again. Jimmy Rollins with a base hit. Before the game, Randy Wolf of the Phillies, 15-game winner and all-star Randy Wolf, was presented with the nomination. Each team is a nominee for the Roberto Clemente Award. And Tommy Phelps from the Florida Marlins is that team's nominee. And Roberto Clemente, well, there are many awards in baseball. The man sitting to my right, my partner, has won this. Not only as Padre nominee, which many times, but what does it mean to you to have once won the Roberto Clemente Award?
It's you know, there's
for service.
Oh man, it's one of the best things that can happen to you as a player. We get a lot of credit in this game for the things that we do on the field, and a lot of times some of the stuff you do off the field is not talked about that much, you know. And I think for most guys, the stuff you do, you feel like you do because it's the right thing to do, not because there's an award out there. But it is a wonderful feeling to be recognized for doing stuff off the field. And so, you know, I won it one year, and I know there's tons of other guys that have wanted to be a part of that group. I think it's a very special thing.
Special to be recognized, and Tomas Perez fires the bat away in disgust as he's gone. Last year's winner when he was with the Cleveland Indians was Jim Thome. And I mean, he is Kurt Schilling. He spent much of his career here in Philadelphia. Won it the year before that. Now Leiter, and Tony, you won it in '99. The names are very impressive. They're as good a players you have. Our Harold Reynolds won it in '91. Our Rick Sutcliffe won it in '87. Just the first winner was Willie Mays. I think you heard of him.
Yeah.
Kelly Stinnett will be the pinch hitter, so look up catcher. So Myers done. He will not win game number 15. Doesn't even matter if the Phillies get 105 runs this inning. He won't have gone to 5. So Myers in his 31st start makes an early an exit as he's had in a while. Count 1-1 to Stinnett. Behind that one. I was not sure whether to root them on or be disgusted or be surprised. Didn't you get that feel? It's a big crowd, and it certainly let us know about it with Thome and Booze, but they're not sure. They haven't had a lot of these games here lately.
Yeah, they're not giving up on their team yet, but they're kind of puzzled because, you know, it was just a half inning ago. We tied the game up. Thome hit a home run. Now here we are. We're down 6-3. What happened?
You know, they World Series in '93 and the pennant race 2 years ago, but this has not happened a lot lately here in Philadelphia. And they're here. I think they want to be more vocal, Tony, but they're not.
Well, if they give them something to yell about, I'm sure they will. Yeah, but they just saw Thomas Perez strike out and throw his bat down.
Right. With patience, Stinnett works the count to 3-2. The top of the order, Bird on deck. Well, they're ready. Give us a ball, Jim. He could do that. Tomey's territory. They got Padillas, Flotilla. They got the duck pond where Brandon Duckworth. I mean, they're imaginative here. Stinnett with a base on balls, so 2 on now for Marlon Byrd. And we talked about the Roberto Clemente Award nominee and Randy Wolf and Tommy Phelps for the Marlins. Very proud of what they do in their community.
It's something that, you know, I don't strive to do anything in the community to get an award. I kind of feel it's an obligation to do it as a baseball player. We're lucky enough to have the lives that we do, and if we could pass down any kind of positive encouragement in the community, it's something I think we should all do.
Especially being in the position that we're in, it's a big key to be out and be in our community and get to know our community and let them get to know us.
Well, congratulations, and I know you say it more than I do, Tony, to both of those fellas.
Congratulations.
And all the others around the bigs.
And it's a great honor, even if you don't win the big award, just to be recognized for your individual team is an honor itself.
You know, we're looking at Redmond on the mound, and we just heard from Randy Wolf, which is a good time to bring in. Redmond a couple of times has brought up the fact, like, you know, that Wolf's brother, Jim Wolf, is an umpire and had a couple of Marlins series. And Redmond, I was actually surprised he came out and said, he goes, well, you know, I'm not saying anything, but, I mean, you can't tell me that deep down he's not pulling for his brother, and it's odd to see him on one of our series. And I guess you can think it, but he tried to backpedal on it a little bit, but I could never imagine that an ump in the majors would start to shade anything.
I can't either.
Not well thought out remarks.
I agree. But in the heat of battle, those kind of things come flying out. You don't really think about it. You're trying to win the game, and I think you're right. I think he did try to backpedal off of that, but
he should have.
But yeah, these guys, I mean, their job's tough enough. It's tougher than playing. These guys, they don't get much vacation time. You're going from city to city.
Bird chopper, that's through. Here comes the speedy Rollins. The throw home, cut off, 6-4.
You see, Chris, you called that. They were just kind of sitting here waiting for something to happen, and Bird gives them a hit, and now they're right back in this game again.
Now it's a 2-run game, Tony, and a good job here by Bird.
Just kind of got out in front of that and came over the top, and Rollins comes around third, and Conine really had no chance of throwing him out. And now the Phillies are right back in the game, and this is the speed that the Phillies have in Rollins scoring from second base.
So a little discussion on the mound, and that is the pitching coach, which Jack McKeon made a change. You know, he came in and very quickly put Wayne Rosenthal as his pitching coach. They let Brad Arnsberg go, so much of the same coaching staff, which was in place for Jeff Torborg, is still here, like Bill Robinson, the batting coach. That's a fastball throwing Chad Fox out of the bullpen. He began the year with the Red Sox. Part of that bullpen by committee, which is worthy of a complete book as it is. Not a chapter, a whole book. Ooh, and there's Polanco swinging for the downs.
And that's Polanco being smart there. He figured after this conversation he's probably going to get a fastball. And it was just a little bit out of the strike zone for him, or out of his zone. And he swung and missed. But these are these situations where you like an experienced bat there in the 2-hole. You got a guy who can use the whole field and move the ball around.
He waved at that one, a little out of the zone, and Redmond's come back to get ahead in the count of 1-2.
And he's thrown 2 fastballs to do it.
2 runners on. The pinch hitter, Kelly Stinnett. Marlon Byrd at second and first.
I think everybody in the ballpark kind of held their breath on that pitch. The 0-2, that's a pretty good 0-2 pitch by Redmond. Knee high.
You're going to have to show the strike tonight. I think that's been a consistent. A little nubber. Derek Lee's going to field it, shovel it to Redmond. Polanco gone. Runners in scoring position for Bobby Abreu. Butchie and Dibbs.
The hunt for October takes us to Texas. American League wild card situation. Seattle down 2.5 to the Red Sox. Base loaded 1 out. Michael Young tries to turn 2. The throw's a bit wide, although Mark Teixeira maybe should have caught that ball. The M's now have a 3-0 lead in the third with the Red Sox losing.
All right, fellas, back here, the Phillies have scored 1 here in the bottom of the 4th to answer the Marlins 3. And if Abreu can just get an excuse-me base hit, we'll have a tie game at 6.
Once again, those 2-out hits, man, the managers love them.
Abreu has walked and struck out tonight, and Redmond starts him out with a strike. Everybody seems to have an opinion tonight. I mean, this is, it's not a guy of Randy Marsh's stature back there who was at third base tonight, the crew chief. And so everybody's got an opinion on how that would hit the black. That did not hit the black.
If this continues,
we're going to have somebody toss.
You're going to see somebody let loose because both sides are looking back. They're both kind of cutting their eyes trying to get an understanding of what's going to be a ball and what's going to be a strike. And when you see that happen, somewhere down the line, somebody's going to say something.
Well, Tony, you're not telling me that Abreu swings through that. You played for both of these skippers, Larry Bowa and Jack McKeon. You're not telling me they might be candidates, are you?
No. Yeah, I am telling you.
Just checking.
Larry's been pretty confident.
Larry's been mellow.
Jack's the one who's been chirping on the other side. He was fussing at him for showing up his players, calling a strike 3, making a strike 3 call on strike 2. And so I don't think he's been happy all night. Larry's been pretty calm.
2-2. You know what else Jack said last night on the bench as the Phillies were rounding the bases, the 7-run 8th to make it 14-0? They forget they might need to save some of these runs for the other 5 games.
Yep.
That's Jack, isn't it?
Well, when the Red Sox ran it up on.
Well, he's not upset. He's just saying, what are they wasting it now?
He's letting them know it's just 1 game.
Big pitch to Abreu here. Did he go? Yeah, he did. So Abreu didn't have a feel that at bat. The Phillies strand 2. They pick up 1. Game on. 6-4 Marlins. Time of the 5th inning here at the Vet in Philadelphia. 6-4. The Marlins need the Phillies. And after the pinch hitter for Brett Myers, Brandon Duckworth is the new Philadelphia pitcher. As we mentioned, began the year in the rotation, pitched his way out of it. ERA, as you see, just a little bit north of 5. We haven't given up on him, but pretty high, 88 innings, 41 walks. And a hit batter to start this inning.
It's not a good way to start.
Duck pond is quacking already here.
He's trying to get inside here, and this ball just takes off in. It's like I told you earlier in the game, normally you watch the reaction of the guy at the plate, and that view, it looks hard. It's hard to see if it hit him or not, but
well, they hear it too, right? I mean, you can hear
right away.
Skin and
skin, and sometimes
wood,
little blood. And wood is different. You're right.
So the Marlins with a runner aboard, leading 6-4, and here's Encarnacion.
see Big Derek Lee over there at first base. He's got 21 stolen bases, 21 out of 28. So you can't forget about him over there.
Yeah, the Marlins, Pierre is the stolen base tonight. 145 as a team. It leads the majors. Leads the National League by a ton. Signs. Digging down there, you saw the other Wizard of Oz. Well, there's only one Wizard of Oz, but Ozzie Guillen, third base. Always a pleasure to be around, right? I mean, always, every day at the ballpark was a good day for him.
Former Padre.
Wasn't everybody?
I know. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Willie McCovey was a former Padre.
At one point or another, I think everybody was a former Padre.
Well, Duckworth had come in and not exactly come in pitching with the ability or the speed of Steve Carlton, for example, to mention one who worked here at the vet over these years. I'm looking around at the bunting at all the names, and Carlton keeps jumping out at us, as well it should.
Yeah.
He was not a former Padre. Polanco, Perez, Tony, double play. Let's go to our daily double in the studio, guys.
The hunt for October takes us to Minnesota, Chris. Huge series continues on ESPN 2 between the Twins and White Sox, and Mike Ryan does it here, Rob.
Yeah, huge home run for the Twins. They gave up David Ortiz. He went to the Red Sox. Only their 142nd home run as a team on the year.
Twins game and a half up on the White Sox. Meanwhile, KC is 3.5 back and losing Cleveland.
The Twins at home, as so many of these teams are. Florida and the Phillies at home had great records. And, well, there's that. They played 3 games in there, though Twins winning game 1 last night. The Royals really, they've been a great story, however it turns out.
However it turns out, you're right. The Twins deserve, I mean, the White Sox and Twins, they've gone at it here the last couple of weeks toe-to-toe, but a lot of people thought the Twins were out of it and weren't going to get into this thing, and now they find themselves up a game and a half.
Kind of a lane in the weeds. Yep. They had something they hadn't had there before, from what I understand. Finally, I hate to say it, a little success and little dollars come creeping into the picture, which was not in the picture at all 2 years ago.
Yep.
Right? The Royals are having a twin-like season.
Yep.
Right? Like, this is great. We don't care. I could pay you to play. It doesn't matter. When push comes to shove, the Twins are saying, hey, we have not been a fluke. So we'll see.
I was really surprised when they made the Shannon Stewart deal. They usually don't make deals. They made a deal, and he's really stepped in and done a great job for them.
Yeah, Duckworth doesn't get that one. And
you know it's coming.
Okay, there we go. There's the first tee shot from Boa.
Breaking ball.
Yeah, can we just say it? We're going to have something in the 7th or 8th inning, okay?
Maybe before then.
Well, Larry's firing those nuts down so fast. I hope they don't go all the way down the trachea there in a hurry. Talk about anybody being former Padre. Well, there's Larry Boa and there's Jack. And who do they manage? Who's this fleet youngster?
Old guy.
The point guard from San Diego State.
I mean, that was Mike Socha at the plate, too. He's a manager now, so.
Well, you didn't want him to block the plate, did you?
No, you're right.
Here they are, Tony. Here's Jack. Larry Boa. And here you are. And here you are.
It's amazing how
everyone's a former Padre.
Yeah,
you're right.
You're absolutely, yeah. Everybody's a former Padre. And I've seen both of those guys work, and so I know that before this game ends tonight, somebody's going to be out saying something to the umpire.
When I grow up, can I be a former Padre? Oh, yeah.
Gosh. Man,
nice.
Those guys got to quit going to the archive and pulling these pictures out every game I do.
Yeah, but Tony,
I'm glad the hair's gone.
I have some, but not everywhere. Wish I'd saved some of mine. Yeah, where is yours? I like that look.
I don't need it anymore.
You know what that was? That was a semi-Oscar gamble.
I saw Oscar play. He had a huge one. Mine.
His helmet was like on air, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Pitch out Lieberthal.
Yeah, but
Duckworth has come in, and I mean, he's slowed this thing down to a rush hour traffic.
And you know what? That's from a Phillies standpoint. Yeah, they want to kind of pick the pace up.
You never grew that do, huh?
I had braids at one point.
Did you?
Yeah, I did that.
Oh,
I never wore them in public like they do now.
Well, I'm going to get Jay Cutlow, Stevie Lawrence on that, because next game we'll have that picture.
They'll find something else. This might be the last game I do this year. But yeah, the pace of the game is important, you know, and Larry's going to want Duckworth to pick it up and throw strikes, but you know, he felt like he threw strike 3 to Conine on that breaking ball. He didn't get it. Ends up walking him. And in games like this, you know, throwing strikes is a huge thing for both sides, because you don't want your defenders, you know, kind of losing control or kind of not focusing and concentrating on what's happening in front of them. And that happens a lot when the pitcher's not throwing strikes.
That's ripped. Base hit through the hole on the left side. Conine to second. Cabrera has impressed with 2 base hits tonight, so 2 on, 2 out for the Marlins. And the number 8 hitter, Alex Gonzalez, up. Duckworth, stint in the minors. Body language, it just is not.
Doesn't look like a confident guy out there right now.
No. This is Carlos Silvathin up very quickly in the pen for Larry Boa.
See, when you're behind, you can't wait around long. You got to get somebody in there who's going to throw strikes. Kind of get control of the game, because you've scratched back. Every time the Marlins have scored, you've been able to come back and put runs on the board yourself. And even though you're down 2, you still got time to get back into this game. But you know, it becomes a whole lot tougher if you're going to turn right around and give up runs on your end, too.
Plus, a retire here, you get to lead off against the pitcher the next. I mean, the lead-off pitcher, you know, will be the pitcher for Florida next time. So it already gives you a leg up on next inning.
And that being the case, I kind of disagree here with Gonzalez. Right now, I'm looking for something I can hit. I know the pitcher's on deck, and I'm looking for something that I can maybe drive in a run with. I'm not gonna make him throw me a strike. I'm gonna try to force the issue a little bit.
In there for a strike.
And I know he's been wild and all over the place in the zone, but I'm looking to swing the bat here. I don't want to walk. I want to drive in a run, maybe drive in 2.
Well, the good news is the guy hitting .018 is on deck. The bad news is Duckworth is all over the place.
Yep.
And not exactly pitching like he's double parked outside the stadium. Well.
And maybe he's just smarter than all of us. He just wasn't going to give Gonzalez anything to hit. He knows the pitcher's hitting.
Well, just in case he's not smarter than all of us, Joe Kerrigan's going to go out there.
And Larry's going up for a little stroll down there in the dugout, and he's going to remind him, okay, you walked Gonzalez, so what? You got the pitcher coming up. You got to throw strikes. Let's throw strike 1. Let's work ahead. And the umpire is on his way out there, and he'll turn around and come back now. And Mark Redmond steps up there. He is 1 for 56. Which tells you he must be a pretty good pitcher to keep getting at bats and not get hits. And Jack's sending him up there. And here in this battle, all he's trying to do is put the bat on the ball. Make him throw a strike first. And after
Maybe second.
And if he doesn't throw a strike, hey, I am not swinging.
.018 is like getting 400 on your SATs for signing your name, isn't it? You get 200 on the English and 200 on the math. So that's getting about a 408 on your boards.
Well, he should be forcing the pitchers to throw him strikes right here. He's got no business swinging a bat.
Well, he has to now. These guys, they know a late swing. You got to have the mask. Mike Lowell's got the mask on in there because a late swing is a bullet.
That is not good.
That's a great shot.
Mike Lowell's got a catcher's mask on, knowing if he swings a bat, it's a good chance it's coming in the dugout.
And that was Stevie Angel on that shit. Good job. The tools of ignorance when your pitcher's up in the dugout. That's interesting.
Well, it's one thing if a pitcher comes up and they do that. When a hitter comes up and they do that, that's not good.
1-2 the count. The bases are loaded. If Redmond somehow can come through here, the Marlins will be laughing. Well, he can come through by just standing there and let Duckworth just waddle these pitches outside of the strike zone.
Yeah, I kind of thought, that's why I was kind of surprised that Redmond swung at the first pitch he saw. I mean, he knows he's hitting 0-18. He knows Duckworth has struggled a little bit too this inning.
Well, they get him. A classic battle between Duckworth and Redmond. 6-4 Marlins. Bottom of the fifth, the Marlins lead the Phillies in game 2 of this pivotal 3-game set here at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. The Marlins begin the day with a half-game lead over the Phillies for the NL wild card hunt, a hunt in which the Dodgers are in it, Cubs are in it. So here are the guys that drove in the runs in the third inning for the Phillies. Lieberthal with a 2-out single, followed by Jim Thome with a 2-out homer. So Lieberthal with 7 ribbies very quickly in this game and a half thus far played in this series. And Redmond very quickly at 3-0. You know, I mean, look, he worked at the bat. It wasn't just a 1-2-3 get out of here at bat.
Yep.
You've seen that carry over often, right, to the first batter for a pitcher, Tony?
Yep. When you're the manager, you say, do it again. Throw a strike at 3-0, do it again. 3-1, do it again. Now, you don't want to let that leadoff man get on without having to swing the bat.
He did. So Lieberthal with a walk. And now let's take a look at the National League home run leaders hammering it. Brought to you by Century 21. Barry's gone deep the last 2 nights, huh? And Tome's homer his last time up has him 1 behind the amazing Barry Bonds.
And we talked during his last at bat that the shift was a little different because it was men on third. And now Cabrera's more playing like a shortstop now. And I watched him in BP today, and he shot balls to left field. You'd have thought he was a Punch and Judy hitter. It was a thing of beauty.
But here's the home run. So who's playing out over the 1950 banner? That's where they need to position him, out there. 2 homers in the last 2 games for Thome. Oh, breaking ball away. He just chopped at it. Hey, how about Barry Bonds is now what, 4 from Willie Mays.
It's hard to 4. Just he's an amazing, amazing. Yeah.
We'll stay with Tommy, but I mean,
Tommy hammers this one to left. Is it ever up? Juice back. It goes back. Oh, against the wall. It's grabbed. And this will be an easy double play. Jeff Conine against the wall. And Lieberthal thought for sure, A, it's gone. B, it's got to be a double. So Conine is homered, and he's just robbed the Phillies of a big play. Look at this.
I can't tell you what a great play by Conine. Well, Mark Redmond's very happy because that wasn't that great a pitch. Conine goes a long way for that ball, makes the catch, makes the throw to the shortstop. They get the double play, and now they're one out away from getting out of the inning.
Lieberthal was halfway between second and third.
He just knew that ball was not going to be caught, and the way it left the bat, I thought Tommy had gone up the gap in left center myself, and they was going to score a run.
Oh, and 2 to Pat Burrell. Pat is 0 for 2 tonight. Fly out center, popped up to Lee in fairgrounds at first. One other thought on Barry Bonds, because we can do this forever. He's now under 100 behind Hank Aaron.
No.
Under 100. Yikes.
I know. I kind of thought we would see this one day, but
Burrow out in front of that one.
it's really incredible to think of the numbers that he's put on the board here the last 4 or 5 years.
I mean, you know, and you saw what Barry said. I said, just 2 weeks after his father passed away, and 3 weeks. And so what am I supposed to do? Not play?
No.
So he is at 656.
99. How long is it going to take, you think, huh? Year and a half?
Well, and so do the math. He's 58 behind the Babe. Wow,
it's hard to
that
believe.
could be done by the end of next year. Shout out to third, Cabrera. Now he has time with Burrell, and he's gone. But Jeff Conine has hit it, and he's taken it away. Well, there's a two-way here tonight thus far for Florida. Jeff Conine, and I thought the ball was going to hit up on the wall, Tony, and Conine thought otherwise.
No, I didn't think he had a chance to catch this ball, and he makes a great play. Turns around, throws it to his cutoff man. They get the double play, and look at that bench come out to meet him as he comes back to the dugout.
And now the new pitcher for the Phillies is the lefty Dan Plesac, usually just used for a couple of batters. So this is an unusual spot, really, to me, Tony.
Well, it's a hold-up spot. For me, when I look at this, Larry wants somebody to come in and shut him down to give his offense a chance to get back into this game. And he brought Duckworth in, and he got a double play ball. After he hit Derek Lee, he got a double play ball and then proceeded to have a single walk, and have to get out of a bases-loaded jam with the pitcher hitting. And he wants it done a little bit easier, so he's going to bring Plesac in now and try to get some outs.
Silva is still throwing in the pen. Mr. Pierre, boy, you see why he's so hard to strike out. He just reaches out.
Well, he's in protection mode there. That's definitely a 2 strikes range. Plesac is really tough on left-handed hitters. And he was just swinging to stay alive.
Pierre 2 for 3 tonight. Single, scored a run in the first, doubled, fouls this one off.
190 hits now for Pierre. He's trying to get to 200. Only 10 away.
Well, you know what that number means.
It's a magic number for hitters.
You were there many times.
When you get this close to 200 hits, boy, you want to try to go ahead and get there. And this is not the time where you want to be wasting that bat, so he's going to battle.
Up to the middle, off Plesac. It's a base hit, so there's 191.
191.
Well, the Astros really beat up on the Cardinals in Houston this past weekend. Can St. Louis return the favor and all of a sudden get back in that hunt for October in that NL Central? Friday Night Baseball, you'll be there, Tony. Rick Sutcliffe will be there. Dave O'Brien will be there. Houston at St. Louis as they open up a set there. The Cards really falling off the map, but sweep, you never know. Meanwhile, where are the Cubs? They're at Pittsburgh. Oswalt and Morris in that game. Two guys that hooked up well last week. How about the 2 starts that Oswalt has made coming back? That's a big, big development.
Big.
For the Astros.
Absolutely.
So Pierre at first. Luis Castillo 0 for 2 and a walk thus far. Polanco in at third. Pierre has stolen a base tonight, his 61st. You know, I started to say that the Marlins now with, what, 145 steals leads the majors. Remember a time, Tony? Of course you do. You were playing when you were young. The 1985 St. Louis Cardinals. You know how many stolen bases they had?
They had a lot.
314.
Yeah. At 314, they probably only had about 50 homers, though.
Well,
that was a team that stole a whole lot of bases. It was built for that big ballpark in the AstroTurf.
They stole the hearts of Dodger fans that year.
Yeah, they did. Well, that's right. Jack Clark was on that team. So.
Yep. They hit some homers.
Yeah, we know he had about 40 or 30.
Well, there was one that I think he hit off Niedenfuhr that we can all remember.
Yeah. You look at those numbers. I mean, they're 50 bases better than anybody else in the National League.
But just for I looked this up just for the heck of it. 85 cards, 4 years for the Cardinals. Starting at 314, 262, 248, 234. We may never see that again, ever, right?
Well, you're right. And this team is probably the closest thing to that, where you've got 5 guys with double-figure stolen bases. You know, Pierre leads the way with 61, but Derek Lee's got 21.
Up the middle through the wickets of Plesac, and Castillo has come through. So now 2 very fast guys on base. 2 very fast guys in the studio. Well, maybe 1, right, Butchie?
Yeah, just 1. The hunt for October takes us to Boston. The leading hitter up with the bases loaded, slow guy.
He may not be Carlos Zambrano, but Victor Zambrano shutting down the Red Sox. Already 1-0 against them this year, 2003, playing the spoiler tonight, Booch.
And the D-Rays currently have the bases loaded as well, while the M's are winning in Texas. A good night for Seattle fans. So far, so bad for Red Sox fans.
All right, fellas, Larry Boyle. Well, Plesac comes in to face 2 batters. Little did they think that there'd be 2 guys that got 2 hits to lead off the 6th. I mean, wheels turning here in Philadelphia. Dan Plesac came in, gave up singles to Juan Pierre and Luis Castillo. So now with 2 very fast Marlins on and none out to face Pudge Rodriguez, you just saw Carlos Silva. A bunt attempt in the air. Polanco barehands it. A Pudge bunt. He gets the two guys over, and you know what? You're looking for the element of surprise. Polanco fielded it on one hop. So both runners in scoring position now for Derek Lee.
I'm not surprised. Maybe surprised in the sense that, okay, he did bunt. But I think even Pudge realizes that, hey, we need to put some more runs on the board. But what it's done is taken the bat out of Derek Lee's hands now.
So this will be an intentional walk that will load the bases for Juan Encarnacion with Jeff Conine, the complete star, coming up after that. Tune in late, a 3-run first for Florida. Derek Lee, who's being walked right now, a RBI single and a 2-run, 2-out double by Conine, made it 3-0. Then the Phillies tied it in the third. A 2-out single by Lieberthal, a 2-out long 2-run home run by Jim Thome, his 42nd. Tied it at 3. But in the fourth, Conine came back with his second homer as a Marlin to make it 4-3. And then a 2-out double by Pierre to give them the lead. And then Phillies coming back with a single by Bird to make it 6-4. And here you go. So you got Pierre at third, Castillo at second, Derek Lee now at first. Encarnacion 0 for 3, robbed once at third by Polanco.
Yeah, we talked at the beginning of the game about Pierre and Castillo. For them to be in this game, they're going to have to do some things offensively. Well, tonight, they're 4 for 7. Been right in the middle of it, really setting the table for the rest of this lineup. Ron Pierre's got 3 of those 4 hits. A stolen base, a run scored. Castillo got his first hit here this inning.
A very precarious spot for the Phillies. Chopper.
Oh, boy, is that tailor-made. Perez steps right on second base over to Thome for a double play. Silva is back.
Bottom of the 6th inning, and Mark Redmond, the starter, is out. Hard-throwing Chad Fox, a Red Sox this year, released. Signed as a free agent early August by these Marlins. One time with the Braves in Milwaukee, and Jimmy Rollins drives this all the way to the base of the wall. Encarnacion with a big arm, and Rollins knows it. He's safe. Hello, game on again.
Guys, I mean, it's like a boxing match. They're going back and forth. Rollins got a ball that he can handle, turned on it. And there's a fastball. He knows that ball's getting by, and he's going to go for 2. Knows Encarnacion's got the big arm. Goes in head first, and now the Phillies are in position.
Jimmy has not hit as well as he could and can, but he's another guy that all of a sudden could be a different year if the Phillies keep it going in September and in October. And here are the numbers of Chad Fox combined with Boston and with Florida. I mean, you know, not horrible. He could be good. He had some rough outings at Boston, some very good ones. But he did not make the final call for that committee.
Yeah. Well, here in Florida, he's going to get a chance to pitch. And he needs to pitch well, because in this team now, you got Ugueth Urbina down there, and you got Looper at the back end.
Well, that's 8-9, right?
And you'd like to get somebody to go into that role a couple of innings earlier.
Tomas Perez. He's that back. Yeah, they pretty much know what they're doing at the back.
Yeah.
And they're in better shape than most contenders. And I mean, a lot of contenders with better records.
Yep.
The bunt by Perez, and may stifle everybody. Safe. The element
element of surprise has got the Phillies back in business.
I mean, this is just a great bunt by Perez. And the whole thing is if he gets it by the pitcher, it's a race between Fox and Perez beat him. As you can see, I don't recommend going head first, but
You know what? On that play, I was just going to ask you, if he's running, even though theoretically it's faster, I think they have a chance. I don't know.
I know what you're saying. I agree with you. If you're going to go,
That's the play.
you know, that's the play or the play where you're trying to avoid the tag.
So here is a pinch hitter, Ricky Leday. Every time we see him, he hits the ball long, Tony. More than average, didn't show it. Not quite an everyday player, but he's a pretty good bat to have off the bench. And Fox is 1-1 to him.
Here's how you could bring a guy off the bench with 13 homers. And he's gotten some big hits for the Phillies. Two of those 13 have been in the pinch hit variety. And right now, I mean, even with a double play ball, you're going to get a run closer. You don't want to hit into the double play, but you know, the thing that you really like to avoid right here is the strikeout. Just put the ball in play. And as you can see, the fans are starting to get into this again. And
Yes, they are.
They're starting to get electric in here, and a base hit here. And they're right back in the ball game.
Then we have them for the rest of the game. They've been in and out of this game.
I totally agree with you.
But we've got them for the duration. Yeah, I think we got them now. The count is full.
The full count. It's going to be interesting to see if they send Perez here.
Everybody on their feet. They'll stay on their feet.
And Perez did not go on the 3-2 pitch.
The lead in the wild card chase at stake in this game right here, right now. Short left, it's Conine who's done it all. Rollins to tag, here comes the throw. Never reached the plate. Rollins on a great throw by Conine and a great block by Pudge. And very quickly, a double play. Wow. Has Conine, is this a complete service tonight?
He's done it all. I mean, he played this perfectly. He's got his momentum coming forward. It's a perfect one-hop, long hop throw to Pudge Rodriguez, and Jimmy Rollins loses. That is not a battle. He's going to win. You know, and I'm sure they probably told him, you know, it's your call.
Well, why not try it? I mean, now you say, well, there's why not.
Yeah.
Wasn't very deep. And Rollins is the best speed on the team, though, right, Tony?
Yeah, and just as quickly as you get the fans' attention, now it's dead as a doorknob again.
Yep. Perez has moved into scoring position on the throw.
Smart base running on his part.
Marlon Bird to right. Encarnacion is there. And the inning that began with a first swing double by Rollins ends with no run scored. 6-4 Marlins over the Phillies in the top of the 7th. And now let's take a look at the clutch performance of the game presented by Viagra. And Jeff Conine to run double this home run. And he has started 2 double plays hard by the wall out there. Conine makes this one and doubles up Lieberthal. And then the very next inning, he just threw out the runner at the plate, Rollins, after the fly ball by Leday. The record for starting double plays from the outfield is 3. He's done 2 in 2 innings.
Yep. And of course, who leads off?
Naturally. Our
Clutch performance of the game presented by Viagra himself, Jeff Conine. So he went straight to the plate. Turk Wendell is now the pitcher for the Phillies. And he's had a he's been more effective in his tenure.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Conine, he's had a perfect night tonight. 2 for 2 at the plate. A great defensive play in left center. Throws another runner out.
Well, starts 2 double plays.
Yeah,
great catch. 3 RBIs. 2 extra base hits. One of them a homer.
He came into this game hitting a .184 as a Marlin.
Well, guess what? Unlike our boy Redmond, who was stuck on 018. What did he come in starting as?
184.
He's at 216.
That's right.
It's a hell of a night.
It's a great night.
So he's up 32 points.
He's done it on both ends. And you know he's standing there right now. It's 3-1. He's hitting with a whole bunch of confidence.
And Wendell strikes him out. So the 5th Phillies pitcher comes in and registers a strikeout. This copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and description of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Now back by Miguel Cabrera. Gives us a chance to tell you that Major League Baseball is giving away World Series tickets for life. Now, that's a good deal now, Tony.
That's a great deal.
Other great prizes. Winning hologram numbers will be announced during games 1 through 4 of the 2003 World Series. Visit your neighborhood Radio Shack store for your opportunity. Now that's a good. Can you imagine if you're that age and you say, well, you're going to the World Series for the rest of your life?
Yeah. Doesn't matter where it is, I'm going. I got tickets. I don't think he wants to be seen with that hat. Still hiding down there. No, that's the way they wear them now.
Side saddle.
Side, yeah.
With the Artful Dodger. This is Cabrera, who turned 20 in April.
Good-looking young player here. He started out playing left field, and then when Mike Lowe got hurt, he went to third base. He's done a nice job at third. I mean, you come up to the big leagues that young and throw a 253 out there, you're doing all right.
Well, much like Dontrell Willis, you know, who came from nowhere to bust in here, as this young man from Venezuela swings and misses. Wendell with 2 strikeouts. I mean, last year he's playing in Jupiter. Now here he is at the Vet, which has been the equivalent of Mars.
Yeah, and fighting for playoff position. Turk Wendell's come in, gotten two strikeouts.
And Gonzalez, 1 for 2. Singled and scored in the 4th. He's walked. Geez, Tony, I mean, you know, we did a game, was it this year? Or last year, you and I did a game at Shea Stadium, and you said, well, I never knew if I'd ever be back at Shea Stadium. Because you weren't sure you'd be an announcer, you're going to be a college coach. Did you ever think you'd be back at the Vet, another place you weren't sure you'd be, right?
Honestly, no, I didn't think so.
Gonzalez hits it back to left. Burrow to the wall. And he makes the catch. Ball hung up there just enough. Did Isabel hold it in?
Pitch complete game. Meanwhile, it's always exciting with Ron Vallone. Bases loaded. He strikes out the side in the 1st inning.
Vallone's done a great job with all the injuries, but Oswalt has come back, and they're starting to rebuild that pitching staff.
Meanwhile, the hunt for October in the National League. The Central has the Astros by 1 over the Cubs as they play Colorado right now. And, of course, the wild card situation is the Phillies and the Marlins and the Cubs and Dodgers and D-backs in St. Louis. And right now, it is the Marlins by a half game over the Phillies. Don't forget, game 2 coming up. Sean Green looking sweet in SoCal. A couple of young pitchers, D-backs and Dodgers, coming up next.
7-inning stretch here at Philadelphia, and we've had the first pitch. It's a strike 1 to Placido Polanco. And Chad Fox working inning number 2 for him with a 6-4 lead. Mark Redmond worked the first 5, so he would stand to win it. His 13th win of the season, a career high for him. Polanco, Abreu, Lieberthal, 2, 3, 4 here at the 8th to last game, barring postseason, at Veterans Stadium, which opened on April 10th, 1971. So, seeing a little over 30 years of Phillies baseball in here, the Philly fanatic now making his way down the... Well, all sorts of critters live here at the Vet. They will implode this thing in February. Okay? Now, there was some debate about it. Oh, there's some debate about that. And Polanco with words. Now, let's keep an eye on the dugout. Well, we said the 7th, but that was just... That was not the driver. That was maybe like a 6-iron, right?
And Fox with a breaking ball, and Polanco, I think, was surprised. Larry Bow was surprised.
Washing down those sunflower seeds, otherwise he was going to spit them all up at our home plate umpire tonight.
You know, Bobby Abreu's last AB, he struck out looking. I don't think he liked the call. And you get the umpire, you get the fans booing a little bit.
Vince Barksdale's hearing it from all angles. We'll play an afternoon game here tomorrow because of the impending arrival of Hurricane Isabel, or at least the rains from it up here. They're going to try and get it in starting at 1 o'clock. Willis and Millwood. Let's take something off that one, Tony.
I don't think he got it where he wanted to put it. I mean, Abreu kind of swung right over the top of it.
Yeah.
You don't want to be messing around with hanging breaking balls in the inner half of the plate, especially to a guy like Abreu.
Chopper, sure-handed Derek Lee makes the play, and there's 2 out here in the Phillies 7th. And here comes Lieberthal. Mike with 6 RBIs last night, had a 2-out single in the 3rd to play the first Phillies run, and a staple here at the Vet. This is one of the critters that lives here that we adore. Yeah. The fanatic. Thrilling fans of all ages, and will continue at the new park, which will open the 2nd Monday of the season, which will be April 12th. That's as good as it gets.
Yeah, he's
right.
Yeah, pretty funny.
You guys had the chicken, and
yep.
The fanatic here. That's about as good as you're going to see.
And again, in here on the last call, we're starting to get some friction now. Lieberthal didn't think so. A lot of the umpires sitting behind home plate, they didn't think so.
We're boiling. We're percolating something on the stove.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Which is funny. You talked about the fanatic and the chicken. The Padres opening a new ballpark next year, Petco Park. You know, this park here in Philly. You know, the Padres, one of the first teams to have a mascot, the chicken. But this guy here, the fanatic, is probably second best to the chicken because
you're partial there.
Yeah, well, of course
you have to be.
Yeah.
Well, chicken was first.
Chicken was first.
The chicken came before the egg.
It came before the egg, and then after the egg.
Right.
He had to break out a new uniform one year, but this guy right here, the fanatic, is very funny. Very funny.
Of course, Youppi up in Montreal, one of our favorites of our producer, Jay Cutlow.
And he likes the crazy crab in San Francisco too.
Encarnacion retires Lieberthal on the drive to right, so Tomey will lead off when the Phillies hit in the 8th, but they trail at 6-4. Chris Berman, Tony Gwynn with you here, and the Florida Marlins with a half-game lead in the NL wildcard chase with a week and a half to go. To make it 1.5 if they hold on here with a 6-4 lead over the Phillies. Todd Hollandsworth, the one-time National League Rookie of the Year with the Dodgers in '96. Been hurt. Now he's back in, sends this one to left center. Pat Burrell is there. And so Hollandsworth batting for the pitcher Fox. And 1 out. And we expect to see you get Urbina in the 8th. And Braden Looper in the 9th. That should be the plan for Jack McKeon.
Yep.
So Hollandsworth is out. Top of the order, Juan Pierre. On the board 3 times. 3 for 4. Singled and scored a run. Stolen a base. And there it is, Tony. You talked about it before.
4 for 7. A run and 2 RBIs. And when these guys get on, they score runs. You know, last night they got beat 14-0. Took the collar. First 2 hitters 0 for 8 tonight. Changes the story a little bit. And all you want is opportunity. You keep giving the middle of this Florida Marlins lineup opportunities to knock in runs without having to get base hits, and they're going to put runs on the board.
Ripped at Tomey. Pierre's gone. Unlucky Pierre.
And that one, it's like I talked about, he's up to 191, and you got to get a hit every time. You're thinking you got to get a hit every time up there so you can get to 200.
Rick Helling, one-time very good starter for the Texas Rangers. Another pickup here late in the season, and the expected man to come in the 8th. Now they acquired from the Rangers in the middle of the season. We'll get Urbina. Strike to Luis Castillo. Tomey, Burrow, and Rollins in the Phillies 8th. Started to tell the story of they will implode this place, Tony, in Diamondbacks Dodgers coming up next. They're going to implode it in February. Now, they were concerned, and I don't mean to be nuts on this, but it is a fact, that there are creatures living in the building here. There's some cats and there's some rats. They figure that with nothing going on, you know, the Eagles are already playing at a new park, that the cats will have a 6th sense to get out of here in the fall. They were afraid, seriously, that there might be some creatures, if they implode it, that would escape into the neighborhood. And they were debating not doing it, like just kind of taking it down. But the decision's been made. February, we're blowing it up. We'll see what happens. It's a fact. I'm not making this up. So, survival of the fittest, I guess.
I guess when that first one goes, there'll be a mad dash across the parking lot behind the right field.
Well,
see, the average fan doesn't get to see underneath like we do.
No, they don't want to.
No.
At any rate, the problem tonight is not them, it's the fish. It's the Marlins. Who lead at 6-4.
It's Jeff Kona.
Yes.
And Juan Pierre. I mean, those two guys have been the catalyst for him. Redmond gave him some solid innings. Fox comes in, does a good job out of the bullpen. Now they're going to get ready to go to bullpen again.
Full count to Castillo.
But it's not that, you know, Philadelphia hadn't had his opportunities, because they had, but the Marlins have made all the plays. Conine going in the gap, making a great catch, throwing out a runner at the plate.
Castillo toward the gap. Long run. Bird does a nice job to cut it off, but Castillo with the wheels in with the double. The Bird couldn't have played it any better than that, Tony, but another hit for the top of the order of the Florida Marlins.
Marlon Bird's shaking his head a little bit, but Castillo just goes with this ball. Bird does all he can to cut it off, plant his foot, and try to get it back in. Not a bad play, but Castillo gets in the scoring position, and that's what I'm talking about. I mean, even here with 2 outs, you think you're out of the inning. Castillo gets a ball in the gap. Now he's standing on second base. Pudge comes up, has an opportunity to drive him in.
4 doubles tonight for Florida, along with Conine's homer. Neverthal setting up way outside. Ball 1. You know, Florida, you know, they saw Philadelphia jump on them yesterday with 4 runs, and that was the end of that, 14-0. So Florida hung a 3 spot in the first, and although the Phillies, Tony, came back to tie it, it was Florida making their own statement. You know, Phillies made a big win last night. Florida said, okay, we're not bothered at all.
Yep, and I think that's what you have to do. You have to. I think they did it the right way. They put pressure on the Phillies right off the bat. They jumped off to a 3-0 lead. Philly came back, tied the ball game up. Conine hits a home run. I guess they had 2 more later in the inning. Say, hey, you're going to have to beat us. You're going to have to stop us from playing our game. And tonight, I think they played their game. They, you know, the leadoff hitters have gotten on base, put themselves in scoring position. They've gotten big hits from Derek Lee, Conine, Encarnacion. Everybody has stepped up tonight, and that's what you have to do. You want to win and get to the postseason, everybody's got to do their bit. And so far tonight, the Marlins have been able to do that.
Pudge thought he had ball 4. Called strike. 3-1. Big run at second base here. 2-run game with Urbina and Looper. And there's Pudge over leaping Rollins. Up to throw his Burrow. He's got a good arm. Safe. Speed of the Marlins, because that throw is there. But they have now a 3-run lead thanks to Pudge Rodriguez's sharp base hit.
I mean, if you're the Philadelphia Phillies, you can't do this much better than they did it. I mean, here's the base hit. Burrow comes up, gets it on a hop, makes a strong throw to the plate. Lieberthal tries to block the plate, but I think Castillo just slid right between his legs.
Now, Mike didn't beef very much, did he?
Nope,
so,
he didn't argue at all, so I figured he got his foot in there and got to the plate.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, let me add something up here, Tony. Conine in the first inning had a 2-run double with 2 out.
Right.
Pierre in the 4th inning had a 2-run double with 2 out.
Right.
And here's Pudge with a single with 2 out. You bring home 5 2-out runs. You're playing some ball and you're probably going to win.
Yeah, you're feeling like tonight's your night. You got 5 runs with 2 outs. Lenny Harris.
And it's not even just in 1 inning when you have 1 pitcher on the ropes and you got a rally going. I mean, it's repeated clutch hitting.
Well, it's like I talked about this inning. It looked like they were going to work themselves out of this inning. And Castillo gets a 2-out base hit, puts himself in scoring position. Pudge delivered.
Well, you look at that. If the score stays the same, it'll be 2 in the loss column, which is really, at this point, what you're looking at. The odd game will be made up Monday. Florida has a game and the Phillies do not. And then they should be, barring hurricane or whatever, I mean, then they should be back on even keel. They'll play 3 in Florida Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I have an inkling we'll be back there. We'll see that, Tony. I don't know that, but Derek Lee gets under this. Bird makes the grab in deep center. Well, the Phillies now trail by 3. Even Jim Thome can't hit a 3-run homer leading off. Bottom of the 8th, the Marlins now lead the Phillies by 3. That's been the magic number, it seems, tonight. ever since Florida got 3 in the first. And now the formula for Jack McKeon's Florida Marlins. And All-Star a year ago Red Sox, Texas Ranger till about the All-Star break. Now the setup man who pay for Urbina comes in to pitch the 8th.
You can see his numbers, 3-0 with a 1.15 with the Marlins.
He's 29 years of age. You have the feeling that he's older than that, Tony. 29 from Venezuela. He's accepted this role pretty well. I mean, you know, I'm sure he wants to be a closer. He had 40 save with the Red Sox. Jim Thome, 42nd homer. A 2-out, 2-run blast in the 3rd. Tied the game at that point at 3. He was robbed by Jeff Conine at the wall. Conine turned into a double play in the 5th. He homered last night as well. He's one off the lead in the league, and Barry Bonds at 43 home runs. 3 for 4 lifetime against Urbina with a home run. Chops it above his own dugout. Well, the shift that Florida plays, and there's nobody on, so now we're looking. It's not all the way 3 guys to the right of the bag, Tony.
Yeah.
But it's rather pronounced.
And it looks like they're going to pitch towards that shift because Urbina is busting Thome's hand. He's busting him in. He hasn't thrown anything out on the plate. They're staying right up underneath his knuckles. And that looked like a pretty good pitch. He just missed. It looked like it caught a lot of the plate, but they've been under his knuckles. They don't want to let him get his arms extended. And Urbina's got enough giddy up. He's got enough on his fastball to keep him honest.
Thome rips this to right field. Man, he's been on it tonight, but that's right at Encarnacion, and there's 1 out. And that'll bring up Pat Burrell. You know, we mentioned Jack McKeon again. We haven't talked about him for a while, and second best record in all of baseball since he took over on May 11th, 67-45. Only the Braves better. Not the job that he's done, and maybe he's run a little bit of a tighter ship. Even they're such young guys, but tight ship. But among all, just have fun doing it, guys. Right?
Yeah. You know, you're a professional.
Jack managed the Royals in the early 70s.
I know.
Oakland A's in the late 70s. I mean, but he managed a team with young George Brett and young Frank White. I mean, you know that he...
Yeah, that Padre team in '88 was a pretty young team. We'd just gotten rid of, just lost Garvey, just lost a bunch of veteran guys. And going in a different direction. And as a young player, it's easy to get comfortable with Jack because all he asks is that you play hard, that you work hard at your craft. Work at your craft.
Well, this doesn't include Kansas City. This is as he's taken over during the season. Padres, he succeeded Larry Boa. He was the GM. And the Reds, and he got him into that one-game wild card playoff with the Mets in '99. Remember that?
Yep.
And they got Griffey the next year, and they got worse. I mean, it just was, sometimes it doesn't make sense.
Yep.
Burrell, a long drive to center. Pierre started in, now goes back. They're teeing off, but they're long fly ball outs, and there's 2 outs. Tony, at 6-4, here's Jimmy Rollins coming up, and
this might be the play of the game here. It was a man on first and third, nobody out, fly ball to Jeff Conine. You see Vukovic probably talking to Rollins, putting the decision in his hands. If you think you can make it, you could go, and if not, just bluff. Rollins thought he could score. Perfect throw to the plate by Conine. We saw Jimmy Rollins lost the battle there against Pudge.
he still hasn't seen. This is the first time he's seen the plate since then.
Yeah.
Standing at it.
And they ended up not scoring in that inning after having first and third and nobody out. And now the Marlins have come back and gotten a 2-out run to to make it a 3-run game. But that could turn out to be the big play of the game. And we're not going to know until the end as to, you know, was Jimmy's decision to try to score, or did they, you know, try to force the issue, force Conine to make a perfect throw to the plate? A lot of times in that situation, when you have a guy that can run, it's the guy who can run is his decision. If he thinks he can make it, then it's okay for him to give it a shot. But if he holds in that situation, Bird was the next hitter, hit a deep fly ball to right, that would have gotten the run in. And you know,
you never know, though. Would he have hit it? Who knows?
Exactly right. You never know.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yep. There's a lot of that in baseball. Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
One pitch to Rollins.
You know, Conine has been in the middle of everything tonight, and here is a perfect AstroTurf throw. One hop, long hop. Good little stick there by Pudge,
Yeah.
letting him know who he's running into.
Little blooper. Out Castillo, in Encarnacion. So 3 fly ball outs in the outfield for Urbina. The Phillies go quietly.
The hunt for October takes us to one of my favorite parks in the big leagues, Coors Field. Morgan Ensberg. Good John Hausman name, Rob.
This is a team that hits 260 as a team, scores 5 runs a game, and has the second best bullpen in the National League.
And behind Ron Vallone have a 2-1 lead, 1 game up on the Cubs.
Butchie and Dibbs, as you know, Colorado can really ruin a pitching staff for the next series, but as far as it's been Houston doing the hitting in that park. Marlins lead the Phillies 7-4 here in the top of the 9th. And Valerie De Los Santos is the 6th Philadelphia pitcher, late of the Brewers. And he'll face Encarnacion tonight's star Conine. And Cabrera. Double switch for De Los Santos? No, we don't think so. So, this crowd of 33,761 is going to get to see 8-9-1. Perez, a pinch hitter, and Bird for the Phillies. So Florida would go a 1.5 up. Boy, this thing seesaws. You know, it's 2.5 after Saturday night. It's a half going into the weekend. Then Friday, Saturday, Phillies lost Florida 1, 2.5. And Sunday, Florida lost the game of the 9th to the Braves. And Encarnacion is hit right on the ankle. That's why he was late of the Brewers, De Los Santos.
That's gotta hurt.
But now here we go. Stay tuned.
Larry's not happy.
Oh, yeah. That didn't take long. It must have been language, Tony. Now it's... We predicted the 8th.
Yeah,
we're off by a half inning.
This has been brewing for a while. And Larry's saying that, what, they all came here to see you?
Well, you have this down, Tony. I mean, you think they came to see you? You blew a call strike 3. You missed a lot of stuff. You're the show here at the plate.
Well, it had to be language because he didn't. There was no time, and he threw Larry. So I'm figuring that he said something he probably shouldn't have said. But this has been brewing for a few innings here. And Larry's upset because he's going to warn somebody after somebody gets hit in the leg, not in the helmet or in the back. On the thigh, he's warning both sides. And the umpire's just trying to keep control of this game.
Well, that's the crew chief, Randy Marsh, who's been around the block a few times, and I'm sure it's very well respected by Boa. And here's the crowd. The chuck of the lineup card to Gary Varsho. It's yours now.
And this is just looks like a fastball, just gets away, hits him right in the thigh. Umpire comes out. He didn't wait long. It must have been something. Not something he said. He tossed him out of there pretty quickly.
So Encarnacion is hit by pitch, and here is, lest we forget, Boa had his word and then some. You think that's number 9?
9 times.
Which would, here, lest we forget, is the star of the game, Jeff Conine.
Yeah.
Well, we saw Bobby Cox get yanked last Wednesday with his 9th, and that was a good one too, I might add.
Yeah.
I had to put it on plays of the week. I enjoyed it. Kicked dirt on third and home, and now Boa with veins popping has tied Cox.
Yeah, as well as Urbina pitched in the last half inning. To save Looper for another night. And
maybe
let Urbina try to close.
3-run lead, Tony, right? And a derisive cheer from the crowd that's left of 33,000 plus, of 36 last night. Jack quiet during all this, enjoying it, for sure. 72 years young. If the Marlins make the playoffs, well, here's Felipe Alou at 68, who would have been the oldest manager ever to manage his squad into the postseason, except that Jack McKeon might do it at 72.
Yeah. And he seems to be enjoying himself. He's really having a great time.
He is.
He loves coming out here, and he's a worker himself.
Oh, boy. De Los Santos is... the wild pitch is now enabled Encarnacion to go to second. Joe Kerrigan, the pitching coach, on the blower. This is how Brett Myers eventually got yanked, and how the Marlins have won the night. 3-3 game. Conine hit that homer in the 4th. Marlins followed with 2 more. And the Phillies weathered the first storm, a 3-run first, tied at 3-3, but did not weather that storm. So this is Jeff Geary. September call-ups. And Conine has walked. And so this degenerates. Please help us, Butchie.
All right, here's some pop for you, Chris. 4-0 Minnesota, looking good in the 7th. Kenny Rogers, whoops.
Sometimes you throw too much at the plate, and when you don't have overpowering stuff, you hang a 79-mile-an-hour breaking ball. Joe Creedy takes you deep.
Nothing but net for Creedy. Meanwhile, the Royals lose. They're 4 back of first place Minnesota now.
And Butchie, this one's up your alley now. Creedy has them 6 feet from the edge, doesn't he now? See? You'd think my music stopped in the 70s, okay? Little bunt. Oh, boy. De Los Santos, a fumble, and then a throw in the dirt. And then here comes the run. Home safe. Oh, here come the Boo Birds. Boa actually left at the right time. It's getting bad, Tony. De Los Santos.
Nice bunt. De Los Santos came up. He looked at third, lost control, threw the ball in the dirt. Perez tries to scoop it out, can't. And great base run in there to score the run.
Well, now the acting skipper, Gary Varsho, the bench coach, He'll make a move. Sacrifice E1, no RBI. And in a town that has booed Santa, they're now booing De Los Santos. We'll be back. Yeah, this one degenerating quickly as the Marlins lead it, well, we should say 8-4. And now the second pitcher, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, seventh pitcher. Of the night, and that will be Jeff Geary, circling the wagon from Buffalo. A September call-up, wasn't even in the Major League roster, but did well enough to warrant a call-up. And Alex Gonzalez is up, and the all-time leading pinch hitter, Lenny Harris, is in the on-deck circle, which means I guess we will see Looper. That answers that question.
Kind of surprising. I thought Urbina had no trouble in the 8th. And, you know, maybe you throw him another inning, but no, they're gonna. Looks like they're gonna play for another run here. And try to sacrifice guys in the scoring position.
Gonzalez showing one again and pulling it back. And 1-1. Geary pitching pretty much the entire season with the Phillies AAA squad, and there's Urbina. And Scranton, I should say. Urbina, you saw Ozzie Guillen giving the signs. One popped up. Polanco over to first. 2 more runners in scoring position. Butchie, you're 3 feet from the edge.
What Scott Stapp is to Creed, Luis Gonzalez is to the D-backs, kids. They're underway in L.A.
Yeah, Luis Gonzalez, a few years removed from 57 home runs, can still hit it a long way opposite yard.
Off of 20-year-old Edwin Jackson, 24-year-old Brendan Webb going for Arizona.
All right, fellas, thank you. The game coming up after us. Now the man with more pinch hits than anyone in the history of the game. More than Manny Mota. More than Smokey Burgess. Lenny Harris started the year with the Cubs. Let go there. And it is 8-4. I mean, it's unlikely, but a little blooper will make it highly unlikely.
Oh, yeah.
There's a strike. So Lenny Harris, remember him primarily as the Los Angeles Dodgers. Seen that Dodger clip? Battled him often, right? When you remember the Dodgers in the early 90s? Played all the positions. It was a pretty good running back in high school and small college. Built like a running back, isn't he, Tone?
Yeah, he is. Done a nice job in this pinch hitting role.
Tomey, foul ground. 2 out. So here's what the Marlins have left on the docket. Tomorrow afternoon now because of Hurricane Isabel, so it'll be an afternoon game here. Then 4 in Atlanta, Friday through Monday. Then they're so good at home, they come home Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday against the Phillies, and they finish with 3 against the Mets, who have lost 16 of 17 against teams over 500. You never know, you might get a Glavine or a Leiter or a Traxel or something, but their last 6 are at home, where Florida has been so impressive. Both of these teams with good home records.
Look at those numbers. They got winning records against all those teams. So again, coming in here tonight after getting beat 14-0.
Very impressive.
It has been impressive for them tonight. So they've been so far been able to return serve. Because Philly definitely let them know last night that they were coming to play. And tonight's their night. They've come back and done the exact same thing with a bunch of 2-out 2-out hits tonight.
One of the guys has been a culprit is this guy right here, Juan Pierre, and he's going to clear everybody all the way to the wall. Conine will come around to score. Pierre has driven in 2 more runs as Cabrera's in. And it's 10-4 Florida. So double digits last night for the Phillies. Take that, say the Florida Marlins.
You know, we talked about it at the beginning. The guys at the top of the lineup. And tonight it's been not only scoring runs, but knocking in runs. Pierre's knocked in 4 runs tonight. All 4 of them with 2 outs.
Well, now that would give them 7 runs with 2 outs, Tony, tonight.
Yep.
Yikes. Shot foul by Castillo. So Pierre now has, what, 192 hits?
192 hits. He's 4 for 6 tonight.
I almost want to sing that 192 bottles of beer on the wall. You know, I mean, getting to 200. There'll be some bottles of beer on the wall in Philadelphia tonight.
You know, that's what he brings to the table. He's a guy that puts the bat on the ball. And honestly, when that trade was made last year with Colorado, you know, wasn't quite sure how he was going to fit in Florida, but he's fit in quite nicely.
Oh, yeah.
In the leadoff spot, he's a classic contact hitter, and it's nice to see a guy have success. He just hit his first home run of the year. He's a guy that's not going to hit the ball out of the ballpark, but he brings a lot of things to the table for this Marlin team.
Yeah, but he may not hit it out of the park, but he hits it to all parts of the park.
Absolutely. And there's always a place in this game for that type of play.
And up the middle we go. Here comes Pierre. Castillo now with a 2-out RBI. 8 runs in with 2 outs in this game for the Marlins. It's 11-4. And the Phillies, who now will fall a game and a half behind and 2 back in the loss column, they essentially had better think about beating Florida tomorrow, and they go up against Dontrell Willis. It is Millwood. They have the Reds in here for 3 this weekend, then day off Monday, Tuesday through Thursday at Florida, and they close down the vet with the Braves. Now, the Braves will be lining up their pitching at that point, but they are the Atlanta Braves with a pretty powerful lineup. So, wiggle room, not a lot once this result is in the books, Tony. And look at Pudge Rodriguez, send it to left, but Burrow is there. Here's tomorrow afternoon starter Willis. We'll be back for the bottom of the ninth. Well, they're busting out the rally caps, both of them here in Philadelphia, here in the bottom of the ninth. 11-4. The Marlins at 3 in the first, 3 in the fourth, 4 in the ninth. And they're about to go 2 up in the loss column on the Philadelphia Phillies. Just impressive. Start with Conine, go to the top of the order. 2 out base hits.
Yep. I mean,
Phillies never got it out when they needed it.
The Marlins did what they needed to do. They, like we talked about, they had shellacked last night. And last night was Philly's statement game. Hey, we need to win. Well, the Marlins came back tonight and showed the Phillies that, you know, hey, we got a nice game too. And we didn't play very well last night. Well, tonight we are. Top of the lineup goes 7 for 11, knocks in 5 runs.
And the new pitcher, it's no need to use Looper with a 7-run lead. Nate Bump, who came over from the Giants in that Levon Hernandez trade a couple of years ago. He was very highly rated and then kind of floundered a little bit in the system, and he's now up. Mike Mordecai, you remember him really for several years with the Atlanta Braves. Played some with Montreal and elsewhere. And he's the new second baseman for Castillo. And this is Tomas Perez. So a stunning loss from the Phillies, who had all the momentum, if you want to call it that, until the first inning was over when they trailed 3-0. So that's the long run by Gonzalez, and he makes the play. You know, the Florida Marlins are this team that just won't go away.
No.
I mean, because I guess they
you know, they have a lot more weapons than would meet the eye,
Yeah,
right, Tony?
they do. They do. And like I said, they can do it a bunch of different ways. They can hit the long ball. They get guys who can do that. You know, the best thing I think that they do is they manufacture runs. They don't need to have the home run because the top guys that they're in their lineup can get on base and steal a base and get themselves in scoring position. So, you know, last night none of that stuff seemed to work for them. Tonight seems like everything that they tried tonight worked. And you know, and they've just put it to. They've just taken it right to the field.
Yeah, the pinch hitter is Chase Utley, second baseman, the #1 pick from UCLA. So tomorrow, look, it's now an afternoon game. I know in your schedules it says at night, but because of the impending hurricane hitting not directly here, but the rain's coming, they think they can get the thing in at 1 o'clock. Dontrell Willis against Kevin Millwood. Utley flies out to Conine. He was our star of the game, and the vet will be down after one more out to 7 games barring postseason. The pseudo Liberty Bell, and park that opened in 1971, and champion saw the 76 Phillies in here, and Carlton, Schmidt, and Luzinski, and Larry Boa, and some magical times in here. And the Eagles played their games in here and up until this year, and it's going to be another week and a half. And you know who was a member of those Philadelphia Phillies who's come back here as a member of the Florida Marlins broadcast squad? My first partner was doing games on ESPN, the guy that owned Tom Seaver. There's some guys that just own them. And there's Tommy Hutton, a gentleman, dare I say a scholar, and taught me the ropes, Tony. He was a great fastball hitter, great glove at first year on those Phillies teams. Just
former Dodger, former Philly.
Always good to see our good friend Tommy, and he loves coming back here to Philly. He had great years here, great memories. Those are wonderful teams. They just came up short. Those teams did in the 70s, in the rain, and the Dodgers. And
no.
Gonzalez, they got rid of that throw quickly. Lee tried to make a tremendous play. Here come the Phillies.
Yep. They're not going to quit. You have to beat them.
Tell you what, that Gonzalez, he got rid of that ball in a hurry.
He knew he had to, because Bird runs well. And he really didn't have any choice. He stayed back on this ball, and he had to get rid of it in a hurry. And Derek Lee almost bailed him out here with a great scoop.
They're going to give Bird a hit, so Marlin gets a second hit of the night, and that'll bring up Polanco. I mean, lost in this is that Polanco is back, and that's going to pay some dividends in these last 10 days for the Phillies. Will they pay enough? He fielded well and involved in.
I agree with you. I think he is going to make a difference. You know, but you can't expect him to be sharp right off the bat after sitting for 16 games.
Well, he didn't give up 8 two-out runs either.
No, he did not. He did not.
So Kevin Millwood, Dontrell Willis tomorrow afternoon here at the Vet. Arizona and the Dodgers coming up in a moment. Well, these Florida Marlins, you know, most of the nation doesn't know yet who they are. I mean, I know that sounds dumb, but guess who they are? They're a team that leads the National League wild card chase by a game and a half as they've sat on the Philadelphia Phillies, winning tonight the middle game of this 3-game set, 11-4 in Arizona. The Dodgers coming up. For all of us here in Philadelphia, this has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Tony Gwynn, I'm Chris Berman. Hope you enjoyed it. John Butchergrass, Rob Dibble. Hi.